Hello and welcome to a little bit of an earlier broadcast we've got going on here tonight. This is going to be the SMRI Southern 500. We're at Darlington and it's throwback week. My name is Rishav Khosla, joined in the booth by David Westergreen to bring you guys all the action tonight from Darlington Speedway. And we got guys out qualifying right now. It's Hank Steinmiller, the man sitting on pole position as it sits. There you can see the timing right now. David Tooker in second with Andrew Rucker and Kendall Noah Player in third and fourth. Colin Bowden making a return to the Elite Racing Leagues rounds out that top five. We're going to have these cars line up, and as they begin to grid, we're going to head over to pre-race ceremonies and bring in, for the national anthem, driver number 32 car, Dusty Dewar.
See if we can get him here.
Having some technical difficulties here getting to our national anthem singer. We'll keep you guys updated on that as the field continues to grid. Here at Darlington. See if we can get Dustin Dewar. We'll show the starting grid here for you guys while we're waiting here. There you see, or excuse me, Hank Steinmiller, your pole sitter from David Tooker, Andrew Rucker, Kendall Noah Player, and Colin Bowden, that top five we mentioned. Damian Leininger, Chuck Sweeting, Gerald Campbell rounding out that top 8.
A quick note there while we're looking at that first grid is Hank Steinmiller and David Tooker taking that momentum and being able to start it up. And now we've got Dusty there. So, Dusty, you want to take it away from the national anthem, bud?
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Racers, start your engines!
All right, engines are firing up, and we're getting ready to go here very, very soon. We should just have one pace lap, but we're heading into 367 laps around this racetrack, 500 miles at Darlington. David, talk us through some of the challenges these drivers are going to be facing tonight on this very unique racetrack.
Darlington is a absolute nightmare of a track for any driver. You're constantly racing the racetrack. It's going to reach out and bite you every time you exit turn 2, and then going through turns 3 and 4. We're going to see guys in the wall, bouncing off the wall. There's only one single groove really most of the way around this track. I think 3 and 4, you might see some double wide racing, some guys up next to the wall. We have a bunch of throwback schemes tonight, so guys aren't necessarily going to know right off the bat who is who. I think there's going to be a little bit of unfamiliarity and need to settle in as the race goes on today. It's really a long, patient race. And two guys right here at the front of the field are, in my opinion, the story. Two guys right on our playoff bubble, Hank Steinmiller and David Tooker, who did not get a win last week, despite their ability to win. Both of them were 1-2, led a lot of laps in that race. Definitely the two fastest cars on track, and just could not get it done after a crash on the front straightaway. They have brought the speed and the focus today. Looking out for Hank Steinmiller and David Tooker to be up front when this one comes to a close later on.
Absolutely. These two drivers have been extremely impressive, shown a lot of pace recently. I do want to make a quick shout out. Kendall Noah player, very strong qualifying for that number 94 car. We've also got a couple of other cars back in the field here that we've not seen before. I believe our 5th place qualifier, Colin Bowden, did just drop to the back of the field, I believe, for a banner infringement. But this is something you'll see throughout the night is tons of different sponsors, tons of new looks to a lot of these cars here. And I'll certainly say I'm not much of a historian when it comes to NASCAR. So David, you're going to be helping myself and the viewers out when it comes to finding all of these unique paint schemes and what makes them work.
What we have 367 laps to get it done, and we're going to be able to talk about, hopefully, just about every single one of these throwbacks. Massive shout-outs to Kendall Noah player, Ryan Lutz, everybody who's involved in designing and painting these cars. David Tooker himself, I believe, also designs and paints a bunch of the cars in the field as well. So, yeah, throughout the field, there's a lot of guys that are running some really cool schemes. We've got a Jeff Green throwback in the field tonight. We've got Dave Blaney, Jeff Burton, Kevin Harvick, Matt Kenseth all thrown back to today. It's going to be a really fun one, and I can't wait to get started with these cool schemes under the lights at Darlington.
Without a doubt here, the lights are off on the pace car, which means we're about to get underway. We're going to have stage racing here. This first one is going to be 115 laps. Long one straight off the bat here. So Hank Steinmiller, David Tooker going to try and lead this field cleanly into turn 1, and here we go. All on Steinmiller. He goes nice and early there off the corner, and the field is underway. Green flag racing here at Darlington for the SMRI Southern 500.
Got messages out to the drivers in the field that if they get involved in an incident, you'll get to hear from them. And I think this first lap presents a lot of challenges for these guys. They're starting off side by side. They're going to have to single out, and you see it there. The entire field now shuttling into the one lane. It's the guys who are running side by side that are going to be nervous. Is that the 01 car there of Ryan Gavel?
That was the 01 of Zishan Dura.
Zishan running the JD Motorsports car then.
Absolutely, Zishan Dura there, just dropping to the bottom there, trying to get out of some people's way there. Slot in line. Smart move early in a very, very long race here. Lap 1 completed, and it is Hank Steinmiller leading the field over David Tooker and Andrew Rucker. Again, expect to see some very big swings in the running orders throughout the night. Things can change very, very quickly, but here we go, finishing up lap 2 already.
Yep, these guys are mostly wide open through turn 1, and then once you get off the corner, you might have to feather the throttle a little bit. As that race kind of drags on, you're going to see these guys having to go slower and slower through that first corner. And through 3 and 4, they have to slow way down, get onto the brake pedal, and drive each corner completely differently. As we see maybe Chad Frankenfield nearly in the wall, might just be trying to run the top side, and the game showing us some sparks there. But Chad running a Tide Ride homage to Ricky Rudd and Ricky Craven, the guys who ran that in the 90s and early 2000s, and doing good right behind Matthew Weeks, running a Denny Hamlin throwback scheme.
Yeah, Matthew Weeks, one of the drivers who's been really looking forward to this week of Darlington races in trucks, Xfinity, and the Cup Series, all of those racetracks, and he runs a car in each of those series, so he's got a ton of mileage here at this Darlington Speedway. But right now, he's got to defend from Chad Frankenfield. Chad thinks better of a move into turn 1. It's something you're going to see on this racetrack if you've never watched a race at Darlington before, is that it's very much a single groove track, and it's not width-wise. There's no, it's not, there is a groove, but it's not as fast. It is very much the entries to these corners are so narrow. Actual physical banking on in the corners is so narrow. You can't fit 2 cars wide. Look at turn 1 here. You are so committed to that bottom right there, and the car slides way up. You cannot take guys too wide, and if you do, you're going to be about 10, 15 miles an hour slower than the guys behind you.
I think it's a great point that you just made. You see how wide the track actually is. from the inside wall all the way up to the top of the wall, the outside wall. You know, there's a lot of room, but they're only using that top part. It's all due to the banking. And even seeing Mark Rebelis kind of sliding around there on the bottom of the racetrack shows it's hard to drive if you don't have that banking to set that car into the corner. You see these guys bury it in. They drift up just a little bit as Damian Leininger may be on the move, going after fourth on Kendall Noah Player. You know, we'll see them here. They'll do it in 3 and 4 as well. They'll bury it into the corner, drift up the track a little bit. See Damian kind of slides it out towards the wall. That allows him to get a good run off the corner. And he's going to be going after fourth place here. Kendall Noah Player in the Jeff Burton 1998 X-Side throwback car. Going to give way to the Gray Ghost from Buddy Baker and Dale Earnhardt Jr. Oh, well, except for Damian bouncing into the wall.
Yeah, not what Damian Leininger wanted to see there. I mean, quite possibly one of the drivers out there with some of the fewest laps completed this season, through both, you know, personal mistakes as well as just really bad luck after the racetrack. But man, oh man, early on in a long race like this, Damian Leininger not what he wanted to see.
Not, you know, that just goes into what we were talking about with the narrowness of the track, right? He and Kendall Noah Player go in side by side in the corner. The wall just sucks you in, and Damian picks up the first Darlington stripe that we caught on camera. And what will happen is in real racing, the paint will be scrubbed off of the car, and the drivers would call that a Darlington stripe. We heard that term since whenever I started watching NASCAR back in 2001. They were calling them the Darlington stripe, and Damian picks up at least the first one that we can count today.
Yeah, we got a good little string right here on the racetrack. However, I believe we have some slow cars on the back straightaway, and we do. And I believe that'll bring this field down to our first caution of the night.
Richard Hines involved there in the 87 car. A little bit surprised Richard Hines didn't pick up a throwback scheme. Maybe is Colin Fern involved in this?
Let's take a look at the iRace Online replay and see what we can find.
Interesting news here.
Early in this race to see an incident for sure, though of course not surprising, as it can be very easy for drivers to run into one another.
Right, we saw that with Damian and Kendall up at the front of the field, and that's not any sort of stranger to this. You know, Darlington isn't a stranger to this sort of thing. It's going to create contact because of the narrowness of the racetrack. And Mark Rebelis was really struggling on the bottom of the track. He had fallen a lap down. And, ooh, man, Michael Goodman gets sideways coming off the corner. And just nowhere to go. Richard sideways. And, Brent Jones absolutely nowhere to go as well.
Yeah, a lot of cars tore up in that incident. Brings out the first caution flag of the night here. 11 laps completed. As it stands, of course, not too many cars on pit road, though we do have a couple of takers. Vincent Isabella, Harrison Talon, Michael Daniel Martinez, Dustin Dewar. A lot of cars further back in the order, all making the call to come down pit road here.
Couple of my favorites for scheme of the race there for the first two to pull down pit road. Vincent Isabella in the Mark Martin throwback built by Michael Goodman, and then Harrison Talon in the Dave Blaney throwback. Those guys looking very sharp tonight.
Absolutely. A lot of great-looking cars here. You're going to recognize a lot of these schemes that we've got on this racetrack tonight.
Yeah, Johnny Thomas is there on pit road. He is not having a good run so far, at least in terms of his standards for this season. The 09 car, which I believe is a Ken Schrader throwback from the early 80s, or late 80s, rather. The slanted 90. He swapped it for 09 and kept the Manscaped sponsorship, but yeah, that one is not. He is not up. He's down in the 30s right now as Johnny Thomas, and that's our points leader. So Ryan Gavel needs to really make up some ground and try to take advantage of maybe what could be the makings of a poor run early for Johnny Thomas. Though there is a long way to go in this race.
Yeah, well, there you see the graphic right there. 26.3 seconds on pit road. So Johnny Thomas potentially with some damage there, or his own Darlington stripe that he wants to try and get fixed as much as possible there. Take that damage early on while you can stay on the lead lap during these cautions. So yeah, definitely not the start that he wanted to see in that 09 car. Our championship leader heading to 2 races to go, but just by 10 points. So Ryan Gavel, Josh Adams, and Gerald Campbell are certainly breathing down his neck, and he comes back down pit road.
Johnny must have run into the wall or another car there under that first run because he has been uncharacteristically slow, and he's coming down pit road a second time to fix damage. So maybe a big shift early in the point standings for our points leader, having a bit of a difficult start in Johnny Thomas.
Well, something that may give him solace is that Ryan Gavel right now sits just P13. He's obviously got some work to do if he wants to close more points in on Johnny Thomas in the lead position in the championship here. Ryan Gavel hoping to get back inside the top 10 and kind of find that rhythm he had at the start of this season, that he kind of found his mojo a little bit back last week at Charlotte with the top 5 again. But, I mean, starting this season off with 3 top 5s from 4 races, first 5 races were all inside the top 10, and then a string of finishes outside of the top 14. You know, he needs to get himself back on track. He started with that with Charlotte. He needs to finish that off here in these next 2 races, get good momentum heading into the postseason.
Yeah, Ryan Gavel's definitely one of those guys that can, you know, we've got the road course coming up in the playoffs here, and that to me speaks, you know, to whether Ryan Gavel can win this championship, is if he can go out and win that road course race. Definitely one of our better oval drivers, but absolutely one of our road course aces. And so Gavel's definitely looking forward to that. The 2 guys behind him, I think, started near the rear of the field, Colin Bowden and Colin Fern. The twin Collins there trying to make their way up. Bowden started all the way in the back. He's already up to 16th.
Yeah, I mean, big moves here. Again, a lot of cars come down pit road, but yeah, there you go. Colin Fern, Colin Bowden. Big moves forward, and Bowden in a different car that we're used to seeing him. We're used to seeing him in that old 24 Chevrolet. Currently moved over to a Ford Mustang there, so a little bit different. But back up front, we've got Hank Steinmiller once again alongside David Tooker. Hank picking that inside lane again and going nice and early off of turn 4. Gives him a great jump, and Andrew Rucker almost gets turned there a little bit by Damian Leininger on that restart.
Damian trying to get away from Kendall Noah Player. You saw him get trapped in behind Kendall and put in the wall. Tyler Fode about off the wall as well. A couple of Lake Norman teammates side by side exiting 2. They're going to work together and keep one of them off the wall. Tyler Fode running a Greg Sachs throwback. Looks like we've had some people bounce it off the fence in the back of the field. Everyone might be okay for now. Colin Bowden hunting on the bottom. He's around Josh Clark and going after Tyler Fode.
Yeah, we remember from last season. Oh, as Josh Robin, I think it is, gets very loose there off of turn 4. Saves it back up, though, and gets back in line here as Ethan Burrell with some great moves as well on the bottom on his teammate Joshua Clark. Colin Bowden, for those who don't remember, was dominant when he showed up in our last season's Elite Racing Leagues. And here you go. You're seeing some of the reason why here. This 24 car is so fast, how quickly he's been able to move up the order. Certainly helped by a lot of cars coming down pit road, but right now he is disposing of a lot of our top drivers here in the Elite Racing League. You look Tyler Fode, Ethan Burrell, Colin Fern. All of these guys who are normally contenders up front right now, this is Colin Bowden kind of hunting them down and really going at it.
Battle for 5th, Matthew Weeks after Kendall Noah Player. Kendall putting on a bit of speed early in this one, but Matthew Weeks powers around the outside, takes it over. Weeks has been waiting for this race. He's really excited about running Darlington.
Yeah, Matthew Weeks loves this. Had such a strong car at, especially in the Xfinity Series. I remember that until he got taken out in a massive accident. So tough break there for Matthew Weeks. Had a fairly strong truck as well earlier on Sunday night, but this is the one he's really looking forward to. It's a long race. It requires you to just be patient, work the car, figure it out, let the track come to you. And it's a track that he loves as well. So, I mean, Matthew Weeks, your Daytona 500 winner, or from earlier in the season. He knows how to get it done on these larger racetracks, and he knows how to get it done on these long races. Look out for that 11 car. He's going to be a serious contender tonight.
Battle is snarling right behind him, though. He's left Kendall Noah Player, and Chuck Sweeting trying to get around him. Chuck's our last week's winner. He's locked himself into the playoffs. Kendall into the wall. That'll open up the door for Chad Frankenfield. Colin Bowden. Ryan Gavel is now by. Kendall, I know Kendall's very fast, especially in that single lap here at Darlington, but he does tend to lose a little bit of speed as the run goes along, and these guys are really taking advantage of someone who's just gotten a little bit out of his rhythm after this restart.
Yeah, part of the issue with Darlington is if you do get in a position where you are, you know, at the end of the day, it very much is, you know, you lose some of that momentum And a car comes
Ooh,
alongside you.
sideways is Michael Daniel Martinez. Oh, man, this has stacked up the field drastically. Kendall on the apron, Michael on the apron. That 56 is the Tate Lytle machine being driven by Daniel Martinez. You've got Chad Thornquist and Vincent Isabella. Everyone's side by side and scrambling early. Thornquist bounces it off the fence.
And this is what I was saying there is, or what I was going to say is, that, you know, momentum is still a really, really important thing around this racetrack, and you're going to find that, you know, it very much is a game of chicken going into turn 1, going into turn 3 is who's going to back out if you've got guys too wide. And that guy who backs out, well, he's going to slow up everybody else behind the two drivers who are fighting it out. So you make a move, a failed attempt at a move checks up the entire field behind you.
Yeah, no, these guys can really they're really going to have to take care of each other. You know, Darlington is essentially like adding another circumstance to the race. Oftentimes these guys are going to be racing each other, but when it comes to Darlington, you also have to race the track. Right? Each of these corners presents different challenges, different focus. You know, turn 1, you can kind of go in wide open, but then exiting, you have to be very careful to not put yourself or the car in front of you in the fence. Michael Martinez and Kendall Noah Player showing that exact you know, thing right there as Kendall's trying to kind of take it easy right now. Seems like he's really out of sync, really out of the groove, just trying to find a place in line to be able to make some laps and get back in that rhythm that we talked about. Martinez bounces it off the wall again. There's a lot of action here at Darlington.
There's tons of action here early on in this race. Again, still, you know, there's still almost 100 laps to go in the first stage as it sits. Yeah, I mean, Darlington's so much of a rhythm track, really. It's you can get, if you hit the wall that one time, it starts messing things up. Little things start going off. Everything's perfect on your car, and you find that solid rhythm that you can work with. You can pass just about anybody at this racetrack. But the second something goes a little bit wrong, you're having to work for it. You're having to really start thinking about the moves you're making, and that's where you start seeing the really, really good guys start picking up, and they're able to fix and correct those mistakes and work with the car as it deteriorates on them as well. Because this, I can guarantee you, there is not going to be a car at the end of this race that doesn't have a couple of dents on it.
I think we're having a
especially on the
wreck
side.
right there. Ooh, man, Harrison Talon just about bounced off of Martinez. They are really scrambling here in this group. Josh Robin just about lost it.
Yeah,
Man.
this 8 car was kind of a bit of a pick on the bottom there that was kind of slowing up a lot of the guys there. He's now dropped back into the 18th position here, just in front of Kendall Noah Player. Yeah, this is the battle for 18th and 19th position. Kendall Noah Player, unfortunately, early in this race, dropping outside of that top 5 starting position. Right now, just kind of salvaged something. Could have burned through those tires a little bit too quickly as well. And as of right now, just trying to get to the stage end or the next caution or whatever he can manage to do. As there you go, Gerald Campbell.
Ooh, big
now
block
looking
on
to the
Gerald
inside.
Campbell. While we've got him on screen, though, I do want to take a quick peek at that Scott Haney paint scheme. Throwing back to the silver number 3 run by Dale Earnhardt. And Scott putting together a pretty good run early on, though behind these two, you might get run over. Scott's doing a good job and representing the Dale Earnhardt number 3 well. Painted by Michael Goodman, one of the other drivers in this race.
Back up to the front, and look at that 24 car up to 3rd position. This pace of Colin Bowden is staggering right now. Still second to Hank Steinmiller, but taking into account that he's been working in traffic, 29.4 to just about everybody else around him. 29.8, 29.5, 29.6, 29.6. Colin Bowden right now is flying in that 24 car. The only car faster than him or close to him on those last couple of laps has been Hank Steinmiller. Hank Steinmiller's got fresh air and a 2-second lead over David Tooker.
Yeah, Hank Steinmiller is really good at this racetrack. You know, we haven't really talked about him early in this one because the action has been intense in the back of the field. Hank is running the Kevin Harvick 2001 car that ran before he won his first race at Atlanta. And he is one that I've seen win at this track several times before. If anyone has an opportunity to beat Colin Bowden today, it's going to be the 63 car. And given the way last week went, I wouldn't put it past Hank to give it everything he's got today and try to, you know, stay out front, lead as much as he can, and really give it to Colin Bowden if he can.
Yeah, Hank Steinmiller, another one of those drivers that is doing the triple this week of Darlington. So, man, I'd have to add up how many laps exactly that is if you finish all 3 races. But he's running the trucks race, he's running the Xfinity race, run competitively in both of those events. And So here we go. He's trying to get the job done in the Cup Series to wrap off a great week for that 63 car at Darlington.
And Colin Bowden is eating into his lead, though. Colin got into that clean air and started running really good lap times. I just, you don't know what he's doing differently for the rest of these guys, but man, Bowden seems to be really fast. He's just able to carry more speed in the center of the corners than everyone else, and got to be something he's doing differently than everyone else. They're just going to have to figure it out.
Let's take a look at exactly what Colin Bowden might be doing differently, how he runs this racetrack. Obviously, there's only so much you can tell from a camera without, any of the data that I'm sure these drivers can see on their own computers. But Colin Bowden certainly getting something done here that allows him to run so much faster. And yeah, I mean, here we go, on board with him right now. These are the lines taken by the 24 car. Those RPMs, you can see them in the corner of your screen, kind of figuring out exactly what he's doing around this racetrack to make this 24 car run so well.
You got to keep it close to the wall there in turn 1. Let it drop down so that you don't just pound the outside wall. Exiting turn 2, certainly easier said than done. Bowden seems to tuck it down to the bottom, entering 3 and let that thing drift all the way to the outside wall before cutting it back down. Exiting turn 4. It's certainly a competitive line, not really something that anyone else can't be doing, but he is flipping it off at 3/10 faster than just about everyone else on track.
Impressive pace right now by this 24 car. He's got that clean air. He's chasing down Hank Steinmiller now. That second was over 2 seconds just a couple of laps ago, now down to 1.5. Look out for the 24 car, Colin Bowden, making a very loud splash, very large splash, on his return to the Elite Racing Leagues.
Well, here's a big battle. And Matthew Weeks, Andrew Rucker, Chad Frankenfield, Ryan Gavel, all going after each other. Rucker has to let out of it. That's going to cost him several spots. How about Chad Thernquist, though? He's moved the 14 car into the top 10. Vincent Isabella as well. Thernquist bounces it off the fence, and into him goes Isabella. I need to really rethink talking.
The two you mentioned.
Immediately. It's
not
truly amazing.
I mean, I think the delay, they've just kind of lost that kind of any kind of discretion right there. It's just the second you mention a driver's name, they're in the wall.
All right, well, let me start talking about Colin Bowden here. No, that's amazing. It looks like it didn't take out Thernquist too badly, but I think Isabella might have a little bit of front nose damage out of that. That's hampering this 42 car.
Well, doesn't seem to be hurting his entry to the corner there. Dives it low on Michael Martinez. Filling it in again for the 56 car and driving where Tate Lytle normally would be competing there. But yeah, looks like a little bit of struggle right now for that 42 car. Slow off that last corner. But further up, I mean, this battle is still going on. Andrew Rucker, Colin Fern, Chad Thernquist, and then you've got Ethan Burrell and Michael Daniel Martinez kind of hanging a little bit back from this battle since these three can certainly cause an interesting situation on the racetrack when all put together. And here we go.
Yeah, for sure.
Colin Bowden versus Andrew Rucker, and Chad Thernquist giving a little bit of a push to Rucker to get him through in turn 1. What are they going to do? There you go. Rucker decides to back off just a little bit. Let them go single file. Again, guys, early days in this race, lap 38 of 367. Take it easy on these cars. You got to have them when you get to that final lap.
Exactly. Chad Thernquist really pushing the envelope a little bit here. And we chided him last week for his performance as a lap down car. Out here running in the top 10 this week, trying to make amends for that, I'm sure. He bounced off the fence and Isabella got into him. That's nothing on Thernquist. That's just part of Darlington. But I'm sure Vincent not too happy with that 14 car at the moment. Andrew Rucker here falling back in the Matt Kenseth scheme, and we've got Ethan Burrell is in the Tony Stewart scheme, I was going to say. But back up in the top 5, Matthew Weeks 5th, Chad 6th, and Ryan Gavel 7th.
Yeah, it looked like it was getting a little bit close between these two, and it is about to get close between our two leaders, Hank Steinmiller and Colin Bowden. Here we go. The battle is very much on here. 40 laps into this run. Any idea, David, what the fuel window looks like for these guys? Ooh, some smoke there on the right-hand side of our screen. Not sure if that's a car that returned to pit road or one that we should be worried about. No caution flag out from the racetrack as far as we can tell.
We were running about 60 laps on the 1.5 miles last week at Charlotte, and This track is about 1.33 miles, so I'm assuming 70, 75 laps on a tank, maybe 80 if they're pushing it, but I assume it's going to be around 70, and I think these guys are going to short pit that just a tick and try to kind of get that fresh rubber as soon as possible. But lead change, Colin Bowden around Hank Steinmiller. Hank doing a really good job, but unable to hold off the 24 car.
Yeah, 24 car now becomes your leader after 40 laps of leading this race. Hank Steinmiller finally gives up that first starting position, to Colin Bowden, and we expect to see Bowden kind of stretch away a little bit here. Not often we see this 24 car taking place, especially in the longer races that we run here. So understanding the longevity of the pace in that 24 is going to be another thing that is fairly new for all of us watching this race and for us analyzing it up here in the booth. We don't know how he performs in these full distance events. Typically has found most of his success in the elite racing leagues during the sprint races that we do.
Right, the 100-lap, mile-and-a-half tracks tends to be where Colin Bowden was at his best. And, we see that he's running a full-length one tonight. And one thing that we've noticed from Colin Bowden over the years is that in the minute he strikes some adversity, he tends to go ahead and hop out because he just, tends to prefer to lead and to try to be out front. If that's not happening, he ends up leaving. So with a race this long, it's certainly a long way from over, and pit road is going to be nasty. Getting onto this pit road is very slippery, very difficult. Not speeding is going to be a big key, and then lap traffic is going to play a massive part in how this race is decided. Getting around cars while you're much faster and having to be patient. The question is, can Colin Bowden overcome all those things over the course of 3, 4, up to even maybe 5 hours, and get through all that to go home with the trophy?
Absolutely. The story isn't written yet, folks. What I'm super curious about here right now is this battle between the 15 and the 1 car. Ryan Gavel is visually faster than Chad Frankenfield at just about every point on this racetrack. He's doing a fantastic job. The problem is Chad Frankenfield also looking to try and make moves on the car in front of Matthew Weeks, and that means that Ryan Gavel having to back out of a lot of these moves, especially into 3, especially into turn 1. Smart driving by the guy in the 1 car, and smart driving by the guys behind as well, not to try and force the issue. Tyler Fody, a teammate, I'm sure they're in communication right now, but that's the kind of driving you need to have a little bit here early on in this race. Yes, the 1 car is faster than the 15, but you can find ways past that 15 car over the course of the next 300 laps. Trying to get it all in, on lap 47 or 367, that's where we've seen issues in the past arise. But Ryan Gavel...
It off the fence.
All right. Well, we're switching drivers. just can't. We just can't do it. You've got one. I've got one there. Tyler Fody makes the move on Ryan Gavel after he gets checked up, and Thornquist now on the back of Ryan Gavel. It's staggering. I'd love, if we've got any avid viewers at home here who'd like to go back through and watch some highlights from this season, figure out how many times David and I have called somebody up here in the booth and basically ruined their day because we complimented something about their race car and their racecraft.
It's once per race at minimum at this point, and if not more. How many times last week were we praising Hank Steinmiller and Ethan Burrell and David Tooker and Matthew Weeks? And none of those guys brought it home. It was Chuck Sweeting who did. So that just tends to be the case. Our previous victim has fallen back to 20th today. Vincent Isabella has sustained what I imagine to be some significant damage to the 42 car and has fallen straight backwards after nearly being in the top 10.
Yeah, it was having a good early run there for the 42. Shouldn't be race over quite yet unless that nose damage is extremely heavy. I know, losing that top end speed, can certainly make a massive difference around Darlington here, because you're suddenly losing one of your best defensive tools, which is just how fast you can actually take your car down a straight line. You can defend pretty easily through the corners because, well, it's not that wide once you're up on there on the banking, but if you don't have that straight line speed at Darlington, man, you're in for a rough night.
Yeah, and who else is in for a rough night seemingly right now is Johnny Thomas. Whoa, Matthew Weeks is down on the apron. He may have hit the wall. We may need to go back and take a look at that. Matthew Weeks looks like he's going to rejoin the field, but Our Daytona 500 winner locked into the chase, 11th in points right now. Matthew Weeks struggling there, and I wonder how much damage he did to the 11 car. Looks like a little Darlington stripe, and yeah, just took it out of the way of everyone behind him to ensure that no one else was involved in that. Smart piece of driving for Matthew Weeks. Lots of time to make that back up.
Yeah, smart driving there. Drops him down from P5 to P13, but again, long way to go. Lots of chances for him to make that time back up. Josh Robin unlaps himself. Robin in that 8 car on fresh tires as compared to the rest of these drivers. So throwing in noticeably faster lap times here. Trying to make up those laps that he fell down there. Currently sits 3 laps down from our leader.
Yeah, another Vincent Isabella's on pit road now in the 42 car, one that we were mentioning with damage.
We've got a caution out on the racetrack.
Oh, we do. So that's going to throw a wrench in Robin's plans as well as probably Isabella's.
Yeah, trying to take a look and see what we could have here in terms of who might. Vincent Isabella, I've noticed, has dropped down to P30. Could there be something that happened with that 42 car? Let's head back to the iRace Online replay, see what we can find.
We got to try to go through and get all these throwbacks as well. We haven't mentioned a couple of my favorites. Let's see if Vincent maybe had an issue. Oh yeah, slid the 42 sideways. What a job. That's going to be a save. Ooh, almost.
I wouldn't call that a save there. And oh, very close there for, I think that was, who was that? That was, I think,
Richard Hines.
Richard Hines might have been the one that just slid past super fast. Just might have the left rear quarter panel there on that 87 car, the right rear quarter panel on that 87 car, excuse me. You can see some of the damage there, but seems to have survived that incident here. And, well, everyone's going to come down pit road.
Yeah, I imagine so. Darlington eats up the tires drastically. We saw how quickly the guys like Chad Thornquist, Michael Daniel Martinez, and even Vincent Isabella before getting into Thornquist, how quickly they were able to eat into the leaders. Colin Bowden, meanwhile, is going to have to make it through pit road for the first time. He'll need to keep that 24 nice and clean each time through pit road if he wants to win this race.
Yes, he will. Here we go. We'll watch this race off of pit road as drivers come up and down. The call should be 4 tires, grab some fuel here, kind of split this stage just about halfway if they can. Colin Bowden will win that race. Hank Steinmiller beats off David Tooker to the 2nd position, and Tyler Fody gets into 4th position over Chad Frankenfield and Damian Leininger.
It's a huge gain for Tyler Fody. I think he was 7th before that, so pretty solid shift for the 40 car. The Greg Sachs themed throwback. I'm sure you've seen it a couple of times. He ran it, I believe, in 1996. This was the first race that Chip Ganassi, Felix Sabatis' team ran that first paint scheme. So Fody able to throw that together. Ryan Lutz, the one who did that. And, the scheme looks beautiful. And Rish, I think maybe the most difficult part for us tonight, besides maybe the length of the race, is going to be deciding the K&P scheme of the race as well.
I was just going to say, right now, that 40 car, I mean, we've got a lot of cars to take a look at. We got a long time to make this decision, but right now, that 40 car is an absolute favorite of mine just looking quickly through this field. I love just how simple that is, and then those, I don't even know how to describe it. It's almost not rainbow colors, but that bright yellow, that bright red contrasted to the black and white. It's a gorgeous car there. Great job by Ryan Lutz Designs.
Yeah, and he's finished this car up so that it would kind of gleam in the lights under the lights, and I do love how that looks. Not always that we get a chance to run under the lights here in the Elite Racing League. In this one, we're able to take full advantage of the Darlington lights this evening. He's got the Gray Ghost on his team too, and I know the Gray Ghost, a favorite of many a NASCAR fan, run by Buddy Baker, and then Dale Earnhardt Jr. as well. Damian Leininger running that one. A couple of probably top 5-ish level schemes right there on the same team.
Yeah, fantastic job by again. Ryan Lutz doing a great job there off the racetrack for a little while here in the Elite Racing Leagues, but still working on paint schemes for his guys at Lake Norman Motorsports. Doing a great job putting together these fantastic paint schemes. We'll keep flipping through all tonight. Hopefully get to all of these different throwbacks that these guys have committed so much time and effort into recreating, and give them all their due time on television. But we are gridding 2x2 and getting ready to go back to green here. Halfway through this first stage, should be able to make it to the first kind of stage, I guess, green-white checker effectively, but unlike what you might usually see in the stage racing of real-life NASCAR, when they run their full-distance races, we will not be having stage caution. So when that green-white checker flag waves, when the stage points are counted, the drivers will just keep on going.
Now, we may want to have a longer discussion about it later on when we get closer to that, but I like that. I think that's a really good rule. I don't think we need those mandatory cautions. You see, we've already had 2 cautions naturally occurring. I don't see why we're going to need more. These drivers are going to be having their hands full with the race. They don't need additional reasons to strategize back. You have to strategize to the end of a 367-lap race. Lap 115, we don't need to be slowing this thing down.
Not a chance. Well, they're not slowing down, though. They're going faster here. Colin Bowden takes the field to the green flag and leads over Hank Steinmiller in turn 1. We got the
spinner! Chad Frankenfield in the fence, and that might cause a huge pileup.
Started with that 19 car, I think, getting sideways on the bottom there, and we've got the caution flag out once again. Everybody scatters off of turn 2 to try and avoid. Let's take a look and see what on earth happened here.
Oh, man. Tooker got off to a slow restart as well, so I think that might be your first thing to look at there, but he checked up, and once he did, Ryan Gavel pounded Chad Frankenfield directly into the fence.
So here's this restart from David Tooker side by side with the 12 car and just gets loose on the bottom. 15 car gets into him, and there you go, everybody around. The 1 car of Ryan Gavel around. I think
Gavel's going to have damage. Chad's going to have damage. The question is whether or not anyone hit Chad there when he was sitting sideways in the groove. I think he's the one to watch there if we could go back to it and see
absolutely
if anyone clobbers into the 15.
Let's take a look at this, a different angle here for the 15 car. We might have been just fortunate enough that, that everybody missed it here. So Tooker gets loose on the bottom. Chad runs into the back of him. Then Gavel runs to the back of Chad with nowhere to go, but I think everybody dives to the bottom there, and there you go. Nobody runs into that 15 car. So a great job by the rest of the field to avoid that spinning car up on the top of the racetrack. But 3 very strong cars there involved in that early incident here. Haven't even finished stage number 1. Ryan Gavel on pit road. Chad Frankenfield on pit road. I'd assume we'll see David Tooker on pit road as well. No, we will not. Tooker staying out. He might actually have been the one that walked away with the best car from all of that.
I'm as harsh on the Elite Racing League as anyone you're going to find. I'll call them out when they run poorly, and Tooker might be going ahead and pitting here anyway in this 19 car. I'm as harsh and honest as you're going to find. You know, if we put on a bad race, I'm going to call it out as a bad race, but that was spectacular by the field. They did not pile everyone in and reduce us by 20 cars with a car sitting sideways in the groove in turn 1. They may have EOL'd David Tooker, actually, now that I think about it, for that wreck.
That's exactly, I think, what you're seeing here. David Tooker sent to the end of the line there, just slowing up on the bottom, letting the entire field by. And they will go back to pacing. And as we do this right now, we'll use this opportunity to head over and give a big shout-out to our premier sponsors here at the Elite Racing Leagues. We'll be back with you guys in just a brief moment.
My name is John Cunningham with C2 Freight Resources. We are a Hub Zone certified logistics company here in Houston, Alabama. We've been in business for over 20 years, working with the Department of Defense and the federal government, among many other customers. C2 is committed to truckload shipments along with less than truckload shipments across the United States, Canada, and Mexico. Our high level of service is what keeps our customers coming back year after year. Our industry-leading transportation management software, along with our tracking software, allow our customers to know where their shipments are at any time, any day. In closing, C2 Freight looks forward to earning your trust and business through actions day in and day out. We know if given the opportunity, you'll be pleased with our service and communication.
Richmar Florist makes every day a special day, from weddings and large events to that little something for any occasion. Richmar Florist has the perfect floral expression, and they're open online 24/7 at richmarflorist.com. Everywhere, every day. Richmar's 2 retail locations offer a fantastic selection of floral creations, gifts, and home decor. Book your free consultation in our showroom for your special event needs, and visit us online at richmarflorist.com today.
Back to the action here at Darlington, the SMRI Southern 500. Colin Bowden, your leader over Hank Steinmiller, Tyler Fody, and Damian Leininger there. They're lined up 2 by 2 and ready to head back to the green flag. Lights are out on that pace car. After that pretty shocking early wreck there in that last on that last restart there between David Tooker getting loose on the bottom, Chad Frankenfield, and Ryan Gabel running into him. 3 very strong cars there involved, and all of them sent to the back either for damage or penalties. David, how's that going to affect the complexion of this race?
Well, I think we know now that these guys can't start pushing it yet. 300 laps to go. Everybody just needs to be a little more patient through that turn 1. David Tooker was side by side with Tyler Fody there. They needed to single out a little bit better, just take care of each other a little bit more, so that Tooker had a little more room to not spin out.
All right, well, here we go. Colin Bowden once again will then restart the field, take them back to the green flag, and here we go. Hits that loud pedal, beats Hank Steinmiller off the line, and here we go. Tyler Fody now with the chance to take second place from 7th coming into those pit stops on that last caution there, up to 2nd. Tyler Fody, what a run he's had. Great job on pit cycle, and great job on these last 2 restarts.
Yeah, much better job by the field there to get singled out through this single groove track. Now we can sort things out and start battling, but Hank Steinmiller, for the first time all race, kind of feeling that pressure on the restart. Teammate Tyler Fody, now Colin Fern through and by. 63 car, going to have plenty of speed and able to get back up to these guys, but just needs to find his rhythm again and then chase him down.
Yeah, Hank Steinmiller just kind of trying to find his footing here right now. Might just be struggling a little bit. First time experiencing really dirty air on a short run with those fresh tires, and you're seeing, that might be the effect here. As Colin Fern working the inside line, trying to get past Tyler Fody. Not going to get the exit, though, as the 40 car now with that strength on the top line. Who's going to blink first into turn 1? Neither of them. It looks like Colin Fern might have backed off slightly there, but both of them seem to carry quite a bit of speed, and Fern looking to make the move off of 2 and down into 3 again.
Cody's very solid. He's good at kind of holding his line and making everyone else beat him without giving up any speed. Cody right now holding Colin Fern at bay and allowing his teammates Hank Steinmiller and Damian Leininger to get back up to him.
Yeah, but while all this is happening, Colin Bowden up front is running away, already 1.1 seconds clear of this second place battle. Tyler Fody versus Colin Fern. Could Colin Fern right now, the pace in that 87 car, could he be a man who could challenge Colin Bowden? Could it be the battle of the Collins up front in this race early in stage 1 right now? Tyler Fody doing a fantastic job to prevent that and keep himself in a Colin sandwich.
Yeah, and here comes Fern now trying to enter turn 1. That's the place you have to do it. It forces Fody to really back off and allow that to happen. Otherwise, they're both going to go into the fence. Bit of an aggressive move, but certainly the right one for Colin Fern. We'll see if he can eat into the lead and the pace set by Colin Bowden.
Yeah, Colin Fern already with a race win this season earlier at Watkins Glen, getting it done, but has shown good speed on the ovals as well. So look out for this 86 car. He could be bringing that battle to the 24. Slowly kind of eking into that. That last lap time was about half a tenth faster than Colin Bowden. So, man, I'm sure I'm going to mess one of these guys' name up at some point. I know it's going to happen. I haven't done it yet, I don't think, but whew, it feels like it's about to slip.
Fern in the 86, Bowden in the 24, neither of them in a throwback scheme. That's what we know right now. Battle is kind of for 4th here, though. I think it's even more for 5th between Leininger and Thornquist. Yep, the Thornquist having the wreck last week that took out Hank Steinmiller was thereby relieved of his duties at Lake Norman and has since continued to work with I believe this is the Fueled Up Racing team. Casey Hatch, Jordan Owens, and Harrison Talon all amongst that group. They work closely with Pro Edge Racing, though they run the Chevrolets.
Yeah, and obviously it's been a rough week, I'm sure, for Chad Thornquist. But I think that's a really good fit there with the Fueled Up Racing team. I think, I've gotten to know Chad Thornquist pretty well, know him personally, kind of his personality. He very much fits in with that. I think Lake Norman Motorsports has a more serious complexion, I think, generally, when it comes to the ultimate, competition. And there's certainly an expectation, I think, with Lake Norman Motorsports now with how much success they've had in the past year or so. But Fueled Up Racing, an up-and-coming team, they're showing a lot of great promise, a great landing spot here for Chad Thornquist, and showing it right now as he's running P6 here at the Southern 500 early on.
Yeah, you want to erase the bad memories of a bad finish last week. Go out and run top 10 in the biggest, second biggest race of the year. That's certainly what Thornquist is going to have to do right now. Here comes Ethan Burrell, the old Tony Stewart championship level throwback, jumping underneath, but Ethan maybe made that move a little too late. Had to back out of it. We saw Colin Fern make that move on Tyler Fody earlier. The late entry to underneath, going into one to try to make a pass and force the other driver to give. He tried that a little bit, I think, and was not able to pull it off the same way Colin Fern did to Tyler Fody.
Yeah, Ethan now, that means he's kind of fallen back and has to rework his way back up to that 14 car. But right now he's got that kind of room to play around with as Chuck Sweeting behind him. Not quite able to make up that ground. Chuck Sweeting, we apologize, not quite sure why the paint scheme hasn't loaded for that 75 car. He's got the JoinAPS Cup Series banner showing everything, but with just the old green and black right now scheme on that 75 car, not the one we're used to running or one of the throwbacks. Unless I'm missing something, this is a throwback, David. You could certainly correct me.
Chuck didn't tweet about it, though I believe this is a throwback. He ran this also on his truck. I want to say it's a throwback to a mod car. We may have Chuck just to have him explain it to us later on. Thornquist just blows by Damien there for 5th, and wonder if Damien might have snagged the wall one time there. Big speed loss for the 12 car. He's lost a lot of ground, and here comes Ethan Burrell now as well. And man, Chad Thornquist into the top 5, the Casey Hatch machine, up there into P5, while Casey is at basic training for the Army.
Yeah, absolutely. Doing Casey some proud here if you're watching. Of course, and in support of Casey, this is fantastic. Certainly doing his car owner proud there as Damian Langer loses the position to Ethan Burrell. Thornquist, though, was up in the wall a little bit there in turn 1 and 2, though. Doesn't seem to have hurt his pace all that much.
We'll see that a good bit is the graphics of the lady in black trying to kind of eat in these cars without actually doing it. We'll see these cars in the wall plenty throughout the night. Andrew Rucker and Matthew Weeks battle for 11. Right, I thought Gerald Campbell got into somebody there and that the black on the nose was his nose being torn off earlier. But no, that's just the way this 31 diecast dude scheme looks.
Yeah, not sure if, we've seen this scheme run before by Gerald Campbell. Not sure if it's a specific throwback in itself that he's just run at multiple events, or if there's no throwback specifically set for this 31 car here tonight.
It's a throwback, but I do, off the top of my head, recall.
David, you're supposed to, I'm not.
Well, look,
you're supposed to know all this.
I know the NASCAR ones, okay? Gerald seems to have thrown back either farther than my knowledge runs or to a different series.
Gerald's throwing back to the Ford Model T.
Yeah, there you go, exactly. Let's see, we can go the 2 cars behind him. I know them. We've already mentioned them even. Andrew Rucker and Matthew Weeks running Denny Hamlin and Matt Kenseth throwbacks. I do like that Andrew Rucker throwback. That's not David Tooker.
Yeah, good looking car there. The different color numbers there certainly stand out to me. The blue number on the top and the yellow one on the door.
And the reason for that, see, it's funny because I know way more about this scheme because I watched it run. The reason that number on top is blue is that the front logo on Matt Kenseth's car in 2001 was the AT&T logo. And so that logo used to be a bald little blue, and in that it was the same color as those numbers on the roof. And so they added the roof numbers to make it pop, and it certainly does, even still on the 2021 version.
And that right there is why we pay David the big bucks here at Elite Racing Network. Gerald Campbell with the move on Daniel Martinez. Michael Daniel Martinez.
Man.
Rucker slams that outside wall off of turn 2.
Two of them. Rucker smacked the wall, and Gerald about spun it out. I think Daniel Martinez did spin it out. Kept it going straight. Everybody's good.
Everybody's moved in the right direction. We're good to go.
we need to get it off of these guys. We'll hit Dylan Thomas right there while we're here. Dylan running the Ryan Lutz car. Lutz will be back next week in this machine, but Dylan able to run this 2008 Eric Almirola throwback. Remember, Eric ran that 8 car and shared it with Mark Martin. In 2008, it had the Dale Earnhardt E on the side, and they've thrown the Smithfield sponsorship logos on there that Ryan Lutz had earlier this season.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's sharp looking. I like it.
It is a very good looking car there for Dalen Thomas there filling in. Like you said there, for Ryan Lutz, doing a great job right now running P14. Wanted to talk a little bit about that battle up front. We go to our top 4. You can see there, Hank Steinmiller back into the second position. Has worked that kind of long run speed out in that car. Obviously still sits about 3.5 seconds back on Colin Bowden. However, Colin Fern has now dropped to 4th. So seemingly he has that great launch speed, but can't seem to maintain that throughout the run right now on the 86, or an issue possibly, slowing down the run for that 86. So this is starting to spread out pretty well up front here. Not too many close battles until we get back to this battle for 6th position between Thornquist, Sweeting, Leininger, and Campbell.
Amy just pounded the wall there. Another Darlington stripe for the Gray Ghost.
Yeah, Damien's been very friendly with the outside walls here tonight. You can already see, I think, even that, I can't tell if it's that Gray Ghost paint scheme or if he's actually got that front left fender even rolled in. Might just be the paint scheme.
The Gray Ghost kind of hard to see, blends in with the track a little bit. I think that's kind of the draw of said scheme. As Thornquist's going to go off the bottom. I don't know what that was at all.
Yeah, Chad Thornquist with a big, was that a throw to bring it down pit road? It seems to be.
Why would he bring it down pit road from 6th?
6th on lap 84 as well, just 30 laps from their last pit stop. Chad Thornquist down on pit road, so an interesting decision there. Not quite sure what the call was for this 14 car, but a strong position then gone away as it currently stands for Chad Thornquist. Again, still a long way to go for that car, but he's going to go 1 lap down.
A very curious decision there. I'm not entirely sure what that would have been. And, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, we've talked kind of at length, especially last week, about kind of some erratic moves made out of that 14 camp, and yeah, that was another one. I don't even know.
Yeah, interesting situation there, and he's stationary on pit road and has been for the past 40 seconds. So something happened there to that 14 car, and you know, we'll take a look. He might be out of this race as Andrew Rucker once again pounds that outside wall. The problem I think that a lot of these drivers are finding is once you get that front right fender the first time, it's a domino effect, because that tightens up your car. That means you're going to get closer to that wall every time you run it in, and that means you're going to keep pounding in that fender, and it's just going to keep multiplying over itself over and over and over. You're going to have a snowball effect, and it's just going to get so bad. I've seen drivers with
got Chad Frankenfield with fresh tires here coming into this group. He's worked his way through. Chad's 7 laps down now, way in the back of this field, but we've seen these full-length races play into being attrition races a number of times, and you know, Chad was obviously turned into the outside wall in that wreck, got big damage on this 15 car, but I think it's certainly possible that Chad could end up with a decent finish. You know, before the race, I was talking with Josh Clark, and Josh was one of the drivers at Bristol who went out very early, had some major issues, but Josh stuck it out. Everyone else kind of tended to leave. Josh stuck it out, changed his engine twice, and wound up with a top 20 finish. He's right in front of Chad here too.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, these long races can lead to some pretty wacky results sometimes when you consider the kind of things a lot of the drivers who do well have been through. But that's so much of what these races are, is that look, even if something goes wrong on, heck, lap 30 of 367, you still go out there and run those laps if the car can run, because you don't know what's going to happen to anybody else. And you know, if people, you know, just decide to stop running because something didn't go their way or they're crashed out, their car doesn't work, any of those things, just running around, getting those laps in, that's positions, that's points.
Ryan Gavel just hit pit road in the 1 car. That is championship. That is championship implications there, at least for the regular season. And so, I honestly, with Johnny Thomas having such a poor day today so far, starting, you know, he's running 22nd. This Ken Schrader throwback not aiding Johnny's speed. We got a big spin in front.
Trying to figure out who
that was. Is it Dewar?
Might have
or
been.
Tooker? It might be Tooker again. Oh, it is Dewar. Dewar's got no front nose on that 32 car, and it's Tooker. It's Tooker and Dewar. I think they might have gotten together.
All right. Well, we'll take a look at the iRace Online replay. That sounds like something that we should certainly see what we can figure out. And I think you were spot on right there. Here we go. David Tooker and Dusty Dewar.
Man, Michael Goodman's really good with these throwbacks, though. We'll say this is a Terry Labonte throwback from the early 90s before he got to Hendrick. Oh, man. David, it's just one of those chain reaction Darlington deals right there. 1 car hits the wall, the other car bounces off of that car, and they slide into the wall together, and they make it through, and everything is okay. Oh, my good. Who was that? Who was in the Dale Jr. car?
The Dale Jr. car, I'm going to guess, was Zishan Dura.
No, Zishan's the 01. It's got to be the Jared Rexing car, I think. Yep, Jared Rexing driving the Dale Jr. looking amp car, and Jared throwing in a 2008 Dale Jr. scheme. I do love it. Haven't seen much of Jared Rexing. Really thought he would be one of those guys to challenge Colin Bowden and Hank Steinmiller.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised there. You know, Jared Rexing.
Caution's out.
There you go, caution flag, correct. What is it? The 56 car, Michael Daniel Martinez, is the slow car on the front straightaway. Looks like big damage to the front of that car. We'll head to the iRace Online replay, see what we can find.
That was quite a few laps there, man. Dusty and Tooker bouncing off the fence. Martinez hits the inside wall. Rexing almost kills Dewar. Oh, yep, by himself.
Just loses it by himself. Hard hit on the inside wall there. Nobody, I don't think, runs into that 56. He does a great job and just slides it all the way up to pit road on the left-hand side of the racetrack and gets it to a stop there. Might be the end of the day, unfortunately, for that 56. He is still rolling, though.
No, that's going to have engine damage. That's a wreck we've seen in real life, too. You know what I mean? The head-on collision. The rear tires come up off the ground at Darlington, and I think Michael Daniel Martinez's 56 is going to be in the garage for quite a while.
Without a doubt, and he even misses that pit road. He decides to come down, not get in the way of the leaders as they come down pit road. As here we go, we've got green flag pit stop. We've got pit stops underway. Yellow flag pit stops underway. The second time this race, and with just about 20 laps to go in the stage.
I can't tell who got the lucky dog there. I want to say though that it was Josh Personette, trying to see if we can't grab one of those guys from the rear of the field to point out their throwback. But for now, checking pit road, Colin Bowden will be the guy to keep an eye on here, as well as Hank Steinmiller. But no, Colin Bowden out easily right where he was in the lead.
Tyler Fody then beats off Ethan Burrell from fourth position, Ethan Burrell makes it into fourth position. Chuck Sweeting, Gerald Campbell with a big swing up the order. I believe that's a pretty positive forward movement for the 31 car. Matthew Weeks, Andrew Rucker, Dylan Thomas, and Joshua Clark rounding out the top 10.
Looks like Damian Leininger maybe stayed on pit road a little bit to fix some of that damage. Looks like he took an 18-second pit stop, so a little bit longer for Damian to try to get the Gray Ghost feeling a little better. And there's Josh Personette. I think he got the lucky dog there. He'll come in this time, and that's the you may remember this paint scheme from when Derek Cope won the Daytona 500 back in 1990.
I hope you weren't talking to me.
Oh, well, I'm sure you don't remember that, but I wasn't alive either, but I've seen highlights. Derek Cope pulled off a miracle last lap pass of Dale Earnhardt Earnhardt's tire blew apart on literally the last corner of the race.
Well,
And it was at that point when everyone thought, oh man, he's cursed. He'll never win the Daytona 500.
well, I'm sure that was a very popular win then for Mr. Derek Cope.
No, he won 2 races he won 2 races ever, and they both happened in that car that year.
Absolutely. Looks like some, I'm taking a look at this 24 car. It looks a little bit, the paint scheme is certainly very interesting to look at. Not a throwback, but I'm trying to see if there's damage on the right front side of that car, if it's just the way the paint reflects off the light. It might just be the way the paint reflects, as that right side looks to be fairly clean for the 24 right now.
We have a big stack of guys up in front of this, of Colin Bowden as well. Brian Gavel among them, trying to take the wave around. Brian Gavel would be 1 lap down should he get this wave around, and I believe that he will. But in front of them, Brent Jones, Rebel S, and then Chad Frankenfield as well, all taking that wave around. So, yeah, it's going to be maybe some lap traffic to deal with up here, as some of those guys at the back of the field have had to take that and keep their old tires on the car, try to get a lap back.
Yeah, for sure. That's going to be the move here. Mark Rebelos currently sitting on 37 lap old tires. The rest of them with not too old tires. Ryan Gavel there, just 7 laps before this caution came out, came down for a green flag pit stop. So that's what kind of trapped him down. So not great. I wonder if they weren't able to actually make it on fuel, so drivers were deciding to split that final run, though. I find that fairly surprising. 50 or so laps on fuel if you couldn't make it.
If we flip up there to Michael Goodman there before we go back to the green, I wanted to shout him out once again, that Terry Labonte paint scheme. He made one for Dustin Dewar, and they're both pretty fantastic. But we're going, I think, right now.
Yes, we are. We're back underway. Green flag waves. Colin Bowden once again with the advantage. Tyler Fody versus Ethan Burrell, though. That's your side-by-side battle for 3rd place, and they're still side-by-side until Tyler Fody slots into the 3rd position over that 37 car.
Ethan Burrell able to get 4th here, and Ethan is very sick of finishing 2nd. He finished 2nd once again on Monday night in Kurska. Ethan even made it into his Twitter name that he is always finishing 2nd. So if there's someone in this field looking to not do that again tonight, it'd be this 37 car. He'd certainly like to pick up a win, kind of the namesake of Tony Stewart there.
Without a doubt. Hank Steinmiller looking aggressive on this restart, I will say, and staying close with Colin Bowden this time, not allowing that 24 car to kind of run away with this here, and Steinmiller looking like he could potentially put on an attack here and try and get to the back of this 24 car. Colin Bowden looks to be struggling on this restart.
Wonder if maybe he did get some damage in there at some point, or maybe I wonder if he's toying with the field a little bit, trying to make things more interesting for himself. It wouldn't surprise me either way. You did notice that the front fender a little bit wrinkled. That could be all it takes to really tighten up this 24 car and not let him do the same things that he was doing before.
Yeah, it could certainly change up the way the car handles. You're chasing the car, you're chasing the track. You said it here earlier, David. And again, one thing goes wrong on these cars, and you don't have the adjustments that they have in real life NASCAR, where you can make that wedge adjustment, you can adjust tire pressures, you can kind of play with some small things and make swings in the setup where, okay, you've got damage on the front, right? Well, heck, let's make the setup a little bit looser and work with that so that it kind of balances back out. You can't do that with these fixed setup race cars, and so you get that small bit of front right damage, and man, you're in for a rough night. So you got to keep that right side of that car as clean as possible.
Ethan Burrell, for the 2nd time, attempts to bypass somebody entering turn 1 and has to think better of it and back out of it. We've seen that a couple of times now from him. It just seems like Ethan doesn't want to push the envelope too early. To me, that's the sign of a good racer. You're lap 102. You don't need 3rd spot right now. You can hang out in 4th, watch the leader right in front of you, and click some laps off and kind of pick up a run when you get it. But until then, you just wait and bide your time.
For sure here. This battle for the lead, though, still staying pretty heated up, and certainly don't count out the Cody and Ethan Burrell here. Burrell struggling to make overtakes on the racetrack. He's going to look again on the 40, but I think he's going to decide better of it once again down into turn 1.
Long sweeping corner as per usual, and this is where Steinmiller really eats into Bowden. There's exiting turn 2. I think 3 and 4, Steinmiller not nearly as fast as Bowden. You can see he enters a little better, but Bowden's been able to drive it off the corner and separate himself from Steinmiller each time out. He does it once again right there, and Hank forced to really make that time up entering turn 1 right there, and then exiting 2 is where Hank really starts to close the gap. Right there, that's where Hank is just so much better than Colin.
You can see this is extremely intriguing. We've got a slow car in front, the 16 then. That's Jordan Owens driving this Interstate Batteries car. I'm sure you could tell me who drives that in in real life.
I can tell you who drives that, what championships they've won. It's Bobby Labonte, guys. Bobby Labonte driving the 16 car, or the 18 in real life. Jordan throwing back to Terry's younger brother. So we've got a number of Labonte cars in the field, and I'm a big fan. And Jordan crosses to the top. That was maybe a more questionable move, but he's going to be able to let all 4 of the leaders go here. Stay his groove. And man, it is tough for lapped cars to get out of the way at this racetrack because of that single groove. I'm sure Jordan went in on the bottom and realized I probably should just go ahead to the top of the track. These guys need a lane to get by. And if Jordan had pushed up the track, he might have put one of them in the wall.
Yeah, without a doubt. But what that's kind of done is here, it's given a chance for Colin Bowden to extend his lead over Hank Steinmiller. And here you go, Mark Rebias with kind of the opposite approach there, which is pretty much park the car on the apron, wait for the leaders to go by, and then get running up again. Which certainly works, especially for Mark right now, who's sitting a little bit further back down the order, 2 laps down in 29th.
It is no fun to try to find a way to let the leaders by at Darlington. I've run it, I've hit it, I've had to deal with it. It just is really tough, and these guys are going to have to do everything they can to stay out of the way and find a spot to let everyone by. Andrew Rucker fading fast. I think he might have cracked the wall there, and we'll see if the 64 car is able to run as well as it did before. I know Rucker is running with a broken foot.
I think
it's actually a sprained ankle.
It might.
I think it's a sprained ankle.
Yeah, something wrong with that. I believe it's the right ankle for Andrew Rucker. So certainly, was going to be a long night anyways. That night just became a little bit longer. I'm sure he'll be glad that he's not feeling that impact there in his legs. But yeah, not what he wanted to see there. Loose off of turn 2. Expect to see that all night long. Or excuse me, was that turn 1?
That was turn 2, yeah. And I'm surprised Rucker actually didn't bring out a caution right there. That was very close to the minimum speed I think needed to trigger the caution lights. So for now, though, as Dusty Dewar's wounded number 32 machine goes a lap down, and Dusty sung that great national anthem at the beginning of the broadcast, but now he's stuck, nursing a wounded car around after the contact with David Tooker.
Yes, he is. We are just 5 laps to go in stage number 1. Colin Bowden currently leading over Hank Steinmiller, but I think Bowden might have just scraped the wall there as we switched over. And here we go, Hank Steinmiller with the run, Bowden with the mistake as the stage comes to a close here, but Steinmiller is on the less preferred line here through 3 and 4. Can he try and get the run here on this 24? What's the damage situation like for Bowden?
We talked about it. Bowden has historically only really shown up for those races that are 100 laps or so, and we're at lap 112 now. So Bowden's got a much longer race ahead of him, and we've seen Hank run the long races. We've seen Tyler Fody, especially Ethan Burrell. Those guys have been around at the end of these long races before. Bowden not so much. So David Tooker, I think back to that Coke 600 we ran, which is even 100 miles longer than this one. And Tooker beating Tyler Fody in that one. I think they were 1-2. So generally, my thoughts are with those guys when it comes to dudes who can run long races. But Bowden seems to have picked it back up, though.
Yeah, seems to have found that pace once again there, but certainly is going to have damage to that right front. I think now visually you can kind of see that right front fender flared up a little bit on the 24 car. And what that's going to do is, especially as the runs get longer and longer here, we're still in a relatively short run, I should remind our viewers. Just lap 18 here of this run, lap 19 now they just take over to. But on long runs, that wears that front right tire just a little bit faster. And that means that with each lap, you're dropping maybe a 1/10 of a percent more than the driver around you. As we've got smoke on the bottom of the racetrack.
I saw a car on the bottom. It might have been Robilas again.
It was Mark Robilas. You're correct there. As I think we're going to come to one more lap here before the end of the stage here. They're on the final lap of this stage, but that 0.1%, keeps creeping in. And over the course of, if we get a 40-lap run or a 50 or 60-lap run in, that's a big, big difference on your front right tire. That's taking a brunt load, a brutal load here around Darlington.
Battles for 5th. Colin Bowden's going to win the stage. Battle right here. These two guys fighting it out. Gerald Campbell and Chuck Sweeting trying to gain and maximize as many points as possible. Looks like Gerald's going to hold Chuck off and pick up the points. I think maybe they have to come around one more time, actually. Nope, that was it. Yep. So give Gerald the 5th place points, Chuck the 6th place points at the stage.
Yep. Here's your top 10. Top 10 stage points are awarded to these drivers. And there they are as they currently stand. So all of those drivers receiving 10 points down to 1, with Colin Bowden receiving a chase point.
Although he won't need it, he won't be in the chase. The one notable there is that Joshua Adams did manage to pick up a point right there, and that will gain him a little bit additionally on Johnny Thomas and Ryan Gavel, who have both struggled so far today. And I'm waiting to talk about this throwback because it is a Jeff Green throwback. To Jeff Green when he ran for Haas in 2006.
All right, there we go. Well, I want to talk about Josh Adams as well, not just because of the throwback, but the fact that Josh Adams has been down pit road 7 times tonight by lap 117. This 95 car has not had a great run of things so far by the looks of it, but to come back and beat P10 at the end of the stage, that's some pretty impressive grit right there from Josh Adams, and more importantly, some impressive pace, I think. So look out for this 95 car as this race runs long. If he can keep it on the racetrack and remains with some pretty reasonable luck here, Josh Adams can certainly be a contender. Dylan Thomas with the move on Josh Clark takes over that 8th position now as we're into stage 2.
Yeah, Matthew Weeks just bypassed Gerald Campbell ahead of these guys, and I think now who are the ones that were going for the points at that stage break. It was Gerald Campbell. It was Josh Clark. They were maximizing their points, running their tires off to lap 115, and now they're comfortable falling back because they have another 115 laps to get back up into the mid top 10, even up to the top 5 if they can.
Yeah, for sure. And up front, though, it is interesting as Colin Bowden, despite clobbering the wall there and it looking like Hank Steimler would get close, has since then extended his lead now to just over a second over that 63 car. And it's really Tyler Fode kind of creeping in a little bit and kind of chasing down Hank Steimler. Could the 40 car be the stronger of the Lake Norman Motorsports cars over the course of this race? It certainly wouldn't shock me with Tyler Fode's track record at long races like you were talking about earlier there, David.
Yeah, Tyler Fode's the guy you would tend to pick at a track like this, right? You save tires, you have to be there at the end. Tyler Fode does both of those things very, very well. He's also seemingly on a bit of a hot streak, running very, very well in both the Xfinity and Cup Series. He's just not a guy you want to bet against. And things are starting to get down to playoff time. That's when Tyler Fode revs it up and tries to get going.
Yes, sir. Here we go. We've got a pretty spread out field right now. Not too many close battles going on the racetrack. Guys kind of settling into a rhythm right now, and you fully expect to see situations like that when you've got a long race like this one. We're just not even halfway through with this event here. 122 of 367, 500 miles at Darlington to complete.
Yeah, I've been to a Southern 500, and you just think, we've run over 100 laps. It feels like we're like halfway, right? No, and then things just kind of get going, and then you're at about 200, and you're like, we got to be almost done, right? No, not really. Darlington just tends to drag. It seems to be just a very long, brutal, endurance-style race. These guys are going to have to remain focused for a really long time in order to put together good finishes and good results throughout the night. I can't imagine having to also drive this thing. It's very difficult to stay focused for that long as Colin Fern jumps back into the top 10.
Certainly, and yeah, absolutely. Well, we've got, I mean, so much time as well. I certainly encourage our viewers. We're fortunate enough to run on a streaming service that allows us to interact with our viewers at home. Please feel free to send your questions up to the booth or at the Elite Racing Network. We'll be happy to get you guys answer any questions, show some cars that you want to see on the screen. We've got some time during these long runs where we can certainly kind of talk with you guys and get a feel for what you guys are thinking about this race so far.
Yeah, earlier Scott Crump had joined us. He's a driver in a number of our series in the Elite Racing League in an open car, I believe in this series, and he had said that his pick was Jeff Green for Ruthless Motorsports today. So Jeff running, I think, solidly in 16th, trying to kind of avoid people right now and doing a good job keeping his nose clean.
Yeah, a little bit of funny choice of word there, as the nose is a little bit bent in there on the 38 car, but I mean, Jeff Green, you look at his stats this season, and they do not tell the whole story. He has been so unlucky getting involved in so many incidents, having a ton of pace in that 38 car, but just never being able to be there at the end just because of situations largely out of his hand. And it's been unfortunate, but I mean, a big shout out to Jeff Green because he's really stuck with it. Obviously, very new to iRacing, kind of, I think, joined with a lot of the other, the rest of the motorsport world last year during the start of the pandemic, but has loved it and has stuck around and become a huge part of this Elite Racing League. So big shout out to Jeff Green right now. Just kind of getting it done in P16, and like we said, if your car runs, keep it out there on the racetrack, man. You can grab a lot of great points here to still put together a solid season at the end of it.
Right, yeah, Jeff Green is, we've seen him be competitive and we've seen him make some mistakes. I think, which to me is comes from the fact that he's a little bit new to the whole iRacing scene, but he's got that raw speed because we know, I mean, he's Jeff Green. He's run in the NASCAR Cup Series, the Xfinity Series for years and years. He completely understands it, and we've talked to him, we've interviewed him a number of times as he about spins it out there exiting turn 4. He just tells us it's a work in progress, and he's doing a great job of learning and making things better as he goes.
Yeah, just 2 top 20 finishes right now, unfortunately for Jeff Green, Daytona and Martinsville. Other races have not gone quite so well, but right now, currently set for a top 20 result in this second stage. If he hangs on to where he's at right now, a long way to go though. A lot can change on the racetrack. Looking forward to seeing what that 38 car can do and seeing if Scott Crump's prediction could come true.
We'll definitely need some help, I think, from maybe the forces at will to bring the field back to it. But for now, it's all Colin Bowden out front.
It certainly is. One to mention to our viewers, an update on Chad Thernquist, driver of that number 14 car. You saw him pull over after running really strong in 6th position early on in this race. It was a leg cramp that ultimately took him out of the race. So unfortunate there, just a personal, effectively a personal injury there, kind of keeping him had to pull into the pit lane and stop the car for the day. So really unfortunate for Chad Thernquist there, was having a great run up until that point.
Sheesh. Not even something I would have considered, you got to hydrate for these things. Hey, iRacing is tough. I can't know, player just bounces it off the fence there. Just going to mention that he had worked his way back up into 13.
They're
hadn't even gotten there yet.
Yeah.
He already hit the wall. It's going well. But it is tough. These guys have to. I always talk about that mental focus and that stability, and Chad obviously had to deal with something physical that time. So, but he definitely had run well early in the early part of this race, and was deserving of a better run than he's going to end up getting.
Yeah, for sure. It is something that people generally take for granted. For the most part, unless you run, those crazy, Denny Hamlin-esque motion simulators, sure, you're not going to feel most of the things you get in the sim, but there's a surprising amount that I know drivers who they'll crank up that force feedback. I know that's something I personally love, and you do need to be able to actually handle that over the course of a long race here. It can be fatiguing, so it's something that drivers need to watch out for. Make sure that they're still physically healthy and able to run the races.
My my least favorite part of running a long race personally is the seat. My booty gets sore and tired. Having to sit for 4 hours in a row. That's usually the bigger problem for me, as opposed to like my feet or my arms. The other one would be like my shins from having to push the gas in each time and let it out, and doing that, what is 600, 700 times, it does tire your shins.
It certainly does. There's a lot that these drivers are doing when you consider all the inputs that they're making.
Ooh, Damien into the wall.
Yeah, again, Damien, glad he doesn't have a motion sim or can feel those, because he's been in the wall a number of times there, and that can certainly start wearing on you, especially if it's not already wearing on his patience there in the cockpit of that 12 car. It's not been a great night as a whole for Damien Leininger, hanging on right now in the 12th position, but really just has struggled, I think, with that car getting tight underneath him, and it probably started with just that first mistake, getting up into the wall, getting that right side kind of pushed in, and that kind of starts the whole thing where he's just going to keep being tight the rest of this race and keep running up into that outside wall.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think once these cars bounce it off the wall one time, that tight condition starts to set in, and that escalates it quickly. It makes it more difficult to keep these cars under control and off of the Lady in Black. How many cars have we seen bounce it off the fence? I mean, it's a true Darlington race when cars are just bouncing off the fence every other corner.
For sure. For second place, Tyler Fode using the pick of Andrew Rucker as the caution comes out. There was about to be a move there, but we do have a slow car on the race.
Oh, man.
44 and the 7. Corey Abbott and Michael Goodman involved in that down the front straightaway here at Darlington. Let's take a look and see what happened to yellow and red race cars.
Man, Michael Goodman, after getting involved in that one incident there with Mark Rebelas, where he bounced it off the wall and corrected down the track, but was held up. Another one, and oh my goodness, just bad luck right in front of Chad Frankenfield, nowhere to go, and I think Goodman's coming in late here, maybe right there, bounced it off the fence already. You see, trying to figure out where Abbott was in the smoke.
Yep, so there you go. Corey Abbott back to pit road. That car likely done for the day. Michael Goodman might be able to salvage still a little bit. Doesn't look like he pushed that nose in a little bit too much, so should, in theory, be good to go when it comes to engine damage, as the entire field is back down on pit road.
Yep, this is expected, I think, and everyone going down to get fresh tires. The Darlington racetrack is just a cheese grater in terms of the rubber. So consistently getting tires is going to be the name of the game.
Yes, it is. You want to make sure that you've got those fresh tires available to you. You've got to make sure that you've got that pace advantage, as it can be pretty significant, upwards of 2.5 seconds here per lap, and that obviously adds up. You saw there as guys were going from a lap down and putting tires on their cars, just how much of an advantage they had over our leaders even, who had older tires. Colin Bowden once again wins the race off pit road over Hank Steinmiller and Tyler Fode. Ethan Burrell then beats off Chuck Sweeting over Matthew Weeks, Colin Fern, Gerald Campbell, Dylan Thomas, and Joshua Adams rounding out the top 10 off of pit road.
Pretty much little change there. I think maybe Campbell and Fern swapped places. But other than that, everyone comes out okay, same as they came in. With that, I think maybe we can read off for our race sponsor, which would be SMRI. SMRI is an independent record label and media company that exists at the intersection of creation, media, and technology. They focus on delivering comprehensive digital content with organic media for all of your digital needs. They also provide multiple avenues of content consumption, making sure you are always in control. As content provider, SMRI offers a unique, ever-growing catalog to fit your needs for any bespoke media desired. Jordan Owens, kind of the head of SMRI, the one who brought them to Elite Racing and has recovered from earlier going a lap down before that one caution flag. He will now be P21 on the lead lap in this Bobby Labonte throwback scheme. One of my personal favorite schemes of all time, though we don't necessarily have to go based on that for that pain of the race, but I do love that. Though I would say my favorite all-time scheme is in this race. It's the Caterpillar scheme that Harrison Talon is running. His is Dave Blaney's. I prefer the Ward Burton version, but this is still a very excellent-looking car.
I've always found Throwback Week to be very interesting. Certainly the paint schemes look, very interesting for the most part, but yeah, I mean, for somebody who hasn't spent that much time, looking back at the history of NASCAR, it's curious to me just how much respect a lot of drivers have for drivers in the past and things like that, and the paint schemes that they ran and how important that is to a lot of these drivers. So, something I've never personally participated in or fully understood, but something that I've come to appreciate. At least the fans of NASCAR and how they approach Throwback Week and just how much passion they have for it.
Yeah, I think that I was at the first Throwback race in 2015 when they first had the idea, and seeing I think Kyle Larson was running the mellow yellow throwback car from Kyle Petty's 1992 days, and Brad Keselowski had a Bobby Allison car, and Jeb Burton was running a car from his dad, Ward, and it was all just really good stuff. And I think that's what kind of brought it on to be the kind of event that it is today.
Yeah, it's become a staple of the Cup Series, and is becoming a staple here in the Elite Cup Series as well. We're getting back to green flag racing here. Colin Bowden with the jump over Hank Steinmiller, and this time, though, Ethan Burrell right now sits ahead of Tyler Fode on the outside lane. Ethan Burrell up to P3 with the jump there. Great restart. Tyler Fode really struggling right now. Falls back and is right now having to defend over Matthew Weeks.
Ooh, Chuck Sweeting breaks sideways.
Your race winner from last week does an amazing job to save it. Keeps it pointed in the right direction. We stay under green flag conditions. Chuck Sweeting, what a save.
Wow. Yeah, well, let's take a replay of that. This is what I said. We need to sell off the advertisement for the good hands move of the race, because that was it right there. Chuck Sweeting breaks sideways on his own, exiting the corner, just gasses it up just a little bit too much, and that car is gone twice. It was gone to the left, gone to the right. Chuck saves it. He's going to keep on going and have an opportunity to run well in this race anyway. And there's the crash behind front. Colin Fern, I think he just got clobbered too.
Colin Fern around on the apron, and caution flag not out.
It's going to be out now.
I'm not seeing cars slowing down on the racetrack quite yet. I would expect to see it come out, but full speed ahead still. There we go. Now the caution flag, I believe.
Hank Steinmiller dropped to fourth as well. A lot of interesting things happened there on that restart. Chuck Sweeting completely sideways. Hank Steinmiller falls several spots, and Colin Fern goes around.
Doesn't bring out the caution though.
Yeah. Well, so what was the caution for?
There was no caution that was actually brought out. The cars are still running at full speed ahead. We're going to just take a look and see what happened here. Colin Fern just gets a tap from the 36 car, and around he goes.
Josh Adams cuts the apron to avoid. I swear, it was right there. It was David Tooker.
David Tooker
drops the apron, and I thought he clobbered Colin Fern.
Here we go, though. Ethan Burrell, could he be the unsung hero for the regulars of the Elite Racing League, and could his first win of the season come beating Colin Bowden here at Darlington? Right now, this 37 car has come to life on lap 147 of this SMRI Southern 500.
I have charged Ethan Burrell with winning a race. He needs to win a race. He's been up front. We've interviewed him too many times to have not had him win a race, and I don't think he would have any hesitations about putting someone not running for points in the fence if needed to win a race. He's got to run against Chuck Sweeting next week last week, got underneath him, almost had the run to get it done. If it came down to it with a driver like this who's not running for points, I think Ethan Burrell would not hesitate to move him and continue on his way, looking for that trophy for the first time in well over a year now.
Well, that's certainly the case. I mean, certainly not lap 150 of 367, or maybe, yes, Ethan Burrell getting close to the rear bumper of that 24 car. I wonder if he's listening in, getting ideas from us up here in the booth. Trying to think about, how he can be aggressive and make these moves, because I'm sure he might have replayed that last restart there with Chuck Sweeting on how he could have been more aggressive, how he could have tried to make that move happen. I'm sure he was thinking about that, and I'm sure he's thinking about that right now. What can he do to make sure that if he's in a situation like this, when it comes down to it on lap 366, what is Ethan Burrell going to do to try and get that victory? Well, right now, he's hoping that the leader does something like that, because Colin Bowden up into the wall might have just lost the run off of turn 4.
Yep, here comes Ethan Burrell down to the bottom, gonna try to stuff it into turn 1. Risky move, and Burrell bounces it off of him. Bowden hits the wall again. Ethan, my guy. Oh, what a save, but he heated up that right rear tire. That may prove difficult to continue on, as here comes Tyler Fody.
Yeah, Tyler Fody to the inside there. He doesn't have that perfect, or that ideal line there, and you see Ethan Burrell back with the advantage. But, man, how many hits can the right side of that 24 car take? We've seen him in the wall a number of times today. He hasn't seemed to get tight, though, the way that some other cars have gotten. I think he's slowed down a little bit, and you can see Ethan Burrell still has that advantage over the 24, but I feel like it isn't as as significant as we might have expected with how many times we've seen this 24 car hit that outside wall.
I really think it is, in fact, he is not able to pull out to the 3, 4, 5 second lead he was able to get to early in the race. Ethan Burrell has run him back down once again, even with that extra heat in the tires of the 37 car. Ethan, we've kind of seen him struggle with passing people in turn 1. He almost needs to try to get that run out of 2 and pass entering 3. That may be the better place for Ethan Burrell to make it happen.
It very well could be. Right now, he's just playing with lines, trying to figure out where he can get a run, at least on Colin Bowden. He wants to, possibly rethink that turn 1 move, as he's tried it a number of times, a couple of times this race, and has never quite worked out for him. Like you said, try that 3 and 4 move. Try and make something work down there and get that overtake, because 1 and 2, man, it's not quite working out for this 37 car the way he's setting these drivers up.
Right, and he was backing it out when it was for 4th or for 7th, or the other times we've seen him making that move and it not work. That was for the lead. He went ahead and stuck it in there, and that was equally as dangerous as those other moves. Ethan just does not have, didn't have that same positioning as far up the car as we saw maybe, I think it was Colin Fern do earlier in the race, where he pulled all the way up past alongside another car, and then was able to force that car to back off.
Yes, he was. Let's enjoy this battle from the nose of Ethan Burrell as he chases down this leader, and we'll crank it up here at Darlington. Ethan Burrell still chasing down our leader, Colin Bowden, then trying to make something work there. You could see just how close these guys are getting to the wall up here at Darlington. You've really got to work that wall there. And, you know, David, talk about kind of, I guess, the improvements that they've made to iRacing. Obviously, we've seen at tracks now at Homestead Miami Speedway in the Xfinity Series. We've seen this. We've seen it at Charlotte, where the wall is a viable option. Has that improved the wall here at Darlington? Made it even more of an option? Are there those same grip strips that they implemented at some other racetracks?
I don't believe the grip strip got added to Darlington. I could be wrong about that. Hadn't necessarily seen that, and especially you would never use the wall at in turn one. Turn one, you have the same arc no matter what you do, what cars run it. We've seen this same line that Ethan Burrell's going to take entering turn one, where you drive it off at the bottom, you let it ride to the top of the racetrack, and then you gas it up and drive back to the bottom. That's always been the line in turn one. Down the back, though, you know, in entering turn three, I think they are running a little bit higher, but I think that may be more of a product of having that higher downforce and lower horsepower. Lets you get into the gas a little bit earlier and still be able to turn the car exiting. Completely turned around on which side of the wall the track we were on.
It's
the point still stands. I have the idea of what there should be looking like in my head. But
it's tricky to see sometimes, just what side you're on the racetrack, and yeah, it is fairly different, but you know, to drive at least, but visually from where we're looking at on these cameras, sometimes it can be hard to tell. Johnny Thomas with the pass on Jeff Green, right now sitting in the 14th position, ahead of primary championship rival Ryan Gavel, who's down in 29th, 11 laps down, or 37 laps down from our leader. So he's stationary. He's out of this race. Excuse me.
Yeah, it's going to be a pretty good day for Johnny Thomas in all things considered. His biggest contender now is going to be Josh Adams in that 795 car, potentially as well as Gerald Campbell in this 31. I think Johnny will have a roughly 10-point lead still. He came into the race with one. Currently, Josh Adams going to gain some points on Johnny, though. Yeah, we're nearing halfway in this race. We're heading up to it. And Gerald and Josh both in the top 10. Johnny just outside looking on in 14th place. And Gavel obviously out of this race. You're going to see, you know, Josh Robin, Chad Frankenfield are the two behind, and they have both had troubles. So I think this regular season championship may be boiling down to Gerald Campbell, Josh Adams, and Johnny Thomas.
Yeah, it has been a very interesting run for Ryan Gavel recently, hasn't it? I mean, when he's had a good result, he has been, or a problem-free result, he's been a top 10 car, basically a top 5 car, all the time. But then when things go wrong, they go really wrong. Las Vegas, Martinsville, Pocono, here at Darlington, you know, he had that amazing consistent run at the start of the season, and it's kind of fallen a little bit to pieces. And, you know, he went from one of my favorites for the championship, if you're talking to me, you know, after round 2, round 3, round 4, to, you know, I struggle to see him. He'll make round 2, I think, but, you know, I struggle to see him making that final 4 even, unless there's that kind of that pickup that you need to see at the chase. And we've seen guys perform when you don't expect them to perform. Heck, our last season champion, neither myself nor David, both of us embarrassed ourselves with our expectations for that when we did our pre-chase show. But Chad Frankenfield, nobody expected him to really go through and win, and he dominated that championship 4 race, pointed his way in. Things can flip so quickly when you get to that championship. So, I mean, momentum is big, but you've got to turn it on when the time counts.
Part of that, too, is also this series is just a little bit shorter than your average NASCAR series, all things considered. So a couple of bad results are suddenly very detrimental to your ability to kind of keep the momentum up. You know, Ryan Gavel has run into these issues, and tonight, not his fault, right? He's a victim of circumstance when David Tooker got sideways in front of Chad Frankenfield, but that wreck taking out two of our bigger points contenders between Chad and Gavel.
Yeah, I mean, and speaking of David Tooker, that kind of brings us back to that bubble battle. Joshua Clark right now and Hank Steinmiller, the two guys who are looking to benefit most from the way this race is shaping out. I'd expect this should vault Hank Steinmiller somewhere around the position of fighting for that 14th position, but I think it'll put Josh Clark in safe in 14th. I believe Hank Steinmiller may be 15th, just a couple of points out, because there is a big gap from 15th to 16th, about 20 points right there between Josh Clark and Vincent Isabella when they came into this race. So still a lot to play for, but Hank Steinmiller looking to make a big jump, a lot of points made on Josh Clark, who I suspect will be the bubble driver heading into the final round if things sit as they currently are.
Well, what could really throw the wrench in is if Hank ends up winning, or also next week at Daytona, if someone else ends up winning that race. We talked last week about this race being a bit of a wild card. We're seeing kind of the normal names up near the front: Tyler Fode, Ethan Burrell, Matthew Weeks. They're all up in the front of the field. And just a couple of drivers that we would have normally expected to be in have had some trouble. What I'm wondering about is next week at Daytona, with a bit of a new build and the way these cars drive, is there going to be a big change amongst some of these guys, right? Hank Steinmiller, Josh Clark, Vincent Isabella, all. Vincent's very good at those plate tracks. If he gets an opportunity to win that race, he can vault and knock out both Hank and Josh, and maybe Tooker as well.
I mean, yeah, we've got some very strong plate drivers here. I think the requirement is 25th in points. Is that correct? And up?
Maybe. I think it's also a start requirement as well.
Yes.
So, like, R.C. Anderson has won 2 races this season, but he will not be in the top 25 in points. Neither will Ryan Lutz. But Colin Fern has had issues today. He's back in 18th spot. He could very well also be out of this thing. Be out of, like, the point standings in the top 14 very quickly, as he's 13th in points right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, guys I'd certainly watch out for if it does come down. I mean, when you come down to Daytona, are guys like Jordan Owens, Tyler Dixon. Both of them won their duels when it came down to it for the Daytona 500. They're both right there on the outside looking in, inside the top 20 in points, or right around the top 20 in points. They could certainly take an advantage. Alec Balvance has been fairly strong at plate tracks in the past. That Limu Racing Point team has been very strong. I think Kevin a player a little bit too far out points-wise to win his way in, but we always talk about him when we get to plate tracks. I mean, so much can happen when we get to Daytona. And we could obviously also have, an unexpected driver win. That's certainly not out of the question, but there's certainly some wild cards in that kind of eligible region of drivers between guys who are on the outside looking in and that top 25. And there's some guys with very realistic chances to get the job done when we hit Daytona International Speedway next Wednesday.
Yeah, that's it's just big. It's going to be a great race. And we joined, we switched the schedule up, Chad did, based on the Daytona 500 we had, which was seriously one of the best races I've ever seen. If you're looking to subscribe on the Elite Racing Network, you're wondering about a race to watch, you got to scroll back in the videos and find that Daytona 500. It was phenomenal. 84 lead changes in 200 laps of racing, and Matthew Weeks brought home the trophy. Well, spoiler alert, I guess, but
a little bit late on that one.
It was a fun race, and we'll have to watch and see how it played out. And you'll see the sequel next week here on the Elite Racing Network.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I can't wait. It's a completely different package, and I think it's going to be a completely different race to the one that we saw, earlier this year, which I think is going to be unfortunate. Obviously, like you said, that race was astounding, the Daytona 500 that we had. That's nothing to say that this race next week is going to be worse, but it's going to be different for sure. And I think you've taken, one of the best products we've got here in the Elite Racing Leagues in iRacing, and changing it up, you're certainly at risk of reducing that product to something slightly less. So I'm curious to see how it plays out. I've run a couple of laps and run with some packs at Talladega with this new package, and it feels very different. You know, there's different things you can do with it. The runs you're able to get are much larger. If you have a tandem draft that's kind of back in iRacing, so the side draft is now a thing. So there's a lot more toys that drivers can play with that can certainly shake things up when we get to Daytona. So again, you don't want to miss that race, so please go find that red subscribe button. If it is red, you should certainly hit it and make sure you're subscribed to the Elite Racing Network, because you're going to have all of the closing regular season races for our Truck Series, our Xfinity Series, and our Cup Series. I mean, Cup Series, Daytona, that's going to be the one to absolutely watch out for, and you're going to want to get that notification when that goes live.
Yeah. We're watching Darlington, but we're talking about Daytona. That's how big it is, I think. And to me, the big problem with what iRacing has been doing is something that I've kind of hearkened to a number of times regarding the smoke, and it's how much do you want to be accurate? I think they made plate racing a little bit more accurate to real life. The problem with that is I think that the plate racing aspect before they did that was better than it was in real life. I thought it was very, very good. The runs you were able to pull were fantastic, and Harrison Talon wiped out there in front of Kendall Noah Player, went ahead and did the smart thing, dropped to the bottom, and brought the Dave Blaney machine up behind Kendall Noah Player in 15th. These guys all having very good runs. Johnny Thomas has really recovered nicely and should be in prime position to lock up that regular season championship, though he will need a good run, and Josh Adams and Gerald Campbell do not have nearly as good a run.
Yeah, I wanted to kind of look at Johnny Thomas because he was having a lot of forward momentum and currently still is. He's closing in on David Tooker for 12th position. This 09 car has kind of come to life here over the course of this run, and we're getting late into the run, and this could be just Johnny Thomas has a long run car underneath him. We're 44 laps into this one. And I'm curious to see, this is kind of the first chance we're going to get to hopefully see what fuel consumption looks like on these cars. What are these guys able to do? What kind of, the Sunday night truck race, nobody really expected it, but it ended up turning up into a fuel consumption race, a fuel conservation type race, and nobody was really expecting it. I think we made it about 57 or 60 laps or so, and guys were running out on the final lap of the race. So it's an important number to keep track of here, and something that a lot of these drivers are going to have to keep their eyes on, because it can certainly come up on you pretty fast here when you run out of fuel at Darlington.
Yeah, and this pit road is also treacherous. We haven't seen anyone having to enter it. We saw Chad Thornquist and his leg cramp attempting to get down pit road early in the event, but for now we haven't seen any sort of green flag pit stops so far. It's mostly been caution stops. We've had a couple of decently long runs, and we are right nearing halfway. I think we might be right there and just past it, actually.
I think you're just right. So we are halfway through with this race, and well, we're 2 hours into it. So just some idea as to how much more is left to go. I mean, like you said, you kind of think. I will say these 2 hours have gone by fairly quickly, but you think you're getting close to being done. But man, we've just hit that halfway point. A long way to go still here in the SMRI Southern 500.
Yep, it's going to be a long one, and it's going to finish late. But we hope you stay with us here and cheer these guys on as they go.
For sure, Johnny Thomas continuing to close that gap to 12th position, David Tooker. Meanwhile, further ahead, Gerald Campbell right now fending off Josh Adams and Chuck Sweeting a little bit further behind. These guys trying to close in, and this is the battle all for 6th position. But right now it's just Campbell versus Adams. What can Josh Adams do? Can he make any headway and try and get some of those points back on the points leader, Johnny Thomas?
I keep on bringing up the points, but these two are going to be second and third in points behind Johnny Thomas. So Josh Adams is second ahead of Campbell by 9 entering this race today. This battle right here is pretty big for Gerald Campbell at the end of the race now. Losing this spot right now, not necessarily a big deal, but if he's not able to gain that back later on, It will be hard for him to beat out Josh Adams next week if Johnny Thomas does have a problem.
Absolutely, yeah, and it's great. I mean, these are 3 completely different names to the ones that we saw fighting for this regular season championship last year, and it's kind of crazy how it's or 4 completely different names really to what we saw fighting for last year's championship. I mean, none of these drivers were realistically in the conversation. Ryan Gavel, I think, was thereabouts, but it was his rookie season. He had 1 win under his belt. He was kind of he showed up and got great results sometimes, but also he hadn't quite figured out those mile and a halves just yet. You know, it wasn't the Ryan Gavel that we've had here in 2021, and man, oh man, he wasn't really in the picture for a regular season championship. But look at how much has changed in just the span of a season. Johnny Thomas just made it into the chase. He's now leading and looking to grab a regular season championship. Josh Adams was not even a full-time driver last season. Gerald Campbell had one of his worst Cup Series season and has rebounded to a 4th place in the championship right now. I mean, it's been remarkable just the turnaround that these guys have had in the span of just a couple of months.
Chuck Sweeting just made quick work of both of these guys. Man, that 75 car, after sliding it sideways and saving it at the start of this run, has really come to life. And Chuck, oh man, that is truly amazing, man.
David,
it is amazing.
David, we got a caution.
Jordan Owens plows into him, and that's a product of the smoke once again, folks.
Oh, Jordan Owens nowhere to. Yeah, let's take a look at this iRace Online replay here, but how about you all?
Look, Chuck's already got a win at least,
Chuck has a win. He's got nothing to worry about there, but
oh no.
Oh, man. This is here we go there, and just a situation of I think that's just the way the lines converge there off of turn 4, the way the lines are, and there's the smoke, and there's Jordan Owens with nothing to see. Let's go back to the iRace Online replay and see what it looked like from on board that 16 car and just how little you can see. We saw this a few weeks back with Corey Abbott and how he barely missed or how he didn't miss an incident with Ryan Gavel here. This is on board Jordan Owens, the 16 car.
You're going to see nothing. Look at this. Where is he? Oh, right into him. I mean, I had this happen to me also at Texas in the Xfinity cars, right? Brian Blobman spun off a turn 2, and I went in there and saw the smoke, and it was all to the inside, so I went to the outside, but I kind of tried to stay near the smoke because I felt like he's probably not exactly where the smoke is. And nope, that's not how that worked. He didn't slide off to the bottom. He had just looped it and was sitting right behind the big cloud.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, there's certainly ways that drivers can turn it down. You can lower the settings, but you shouldn't have to do that. To race safely, you shouldn't have to sacrifice the way that your game looks to do that. You have to turn down your particle settings is what it officially is in iRacing. And I like the addition of greater realism in a race as Colin Bowden is out of the race. Oh
no! Well, we talked about this, right? We talked about this a number of times. I don't know if Bowden maybe went over his pit box or had something happen, or he had to leave, right? Long races, not Colin Bowden's forte. He's much better at those 100-mile sprints. As that stands, Hank Steinmiller takes over the race lead once again, and the door has just swung wide open for, I think, 4 guys that I expect to be battling for this win anyway. Even with the Colin Bowden being there, and maybe he even saw that he just had a lot of damage on that 24 car and knew he wasn't going to be able to hold him off. But honestly, I think he may have just gotten to a point where he's just like, man, I've been racing for 2 hours, and I'm not running for any points or anything. I've led all the laps. They know I was going to win.
Yeah, it's certainly shaken up the complexion of this. It's shaken up this race. Without a doubt. I mean, Hank Steinmiller obviously goes to the lead. That gives Tyler Fode second, Ethan Burrell third. It opens up the race, I think, a lot. Tyler Fode and Ethan Burrell, I think, are stronger on the short run. Hank really comes alive as the run gets long. That 63 car comes back. so fast at these guys. And yeah, so that's going to be the difference, I think, the difference maker is if we have a late race caution, I'm looking at the 40, I'm looking at the 37. We have a long run to the finish, looking at that 63.
Yeah, Hank has been kind of due, though. You know what I mean? Hank and Ethan both, really. I would say, but Hank especially. You know, after last week, the hard beat. Ethan has been the kind of car that's just always there and never in victory lane. But between those guys, I would like to see a winner from this race. These guys are going to fight hard with, of course, Tyler Fody and Matthew Weeks, two drivers who we know can get it done and can get it done on these long endurance races.
For sure. And yeah, we're gonna get these guys lined up 2 by 2. We might have a driver joining us up here in the booth a little bit soon. And that would be Jordan Owens, though. Right now, that field, I think we have a ton of wave around cars here trying to get back around, as this field looks very sparse right now. Trying to see as guys start to add up to this grid, and we do have quite a few cars coming around on the wave around. Pace car is going to peel off, though, and we're going to get underway as the rest of the field catches up, and Hank Steinmiller now controls the field for the first time since really that first and second caution, realistically. But back up in front, Hank Steinmiller times that restart with Tyler Fody pretty well, and makes sure that Fody's able to get in line ahead of Ethan Burrell. And there we go. Lake Norman Motorsports 1-2 again here at Darlington. But look out, as you've got Pro Edge Racing 3 and 4. But right now, Gerald Campbell hanging on to P5.
No, they're crashing. No, they're not.
No, they're
Tyler
not.
Fody is trying to wreck it. He didn't do it. Sometimes these guys are really dang impressive, man.
It's astonishing to see. I mean, you see the smoke every now and then. You think, oh man, something's happened, and then there's nothing. There's no yellow. There's no slow car on the tracker. There's nothing there. And man, oh man, what craziness here in the race. I believe we've got the driver who got caught up in that last incident here. We can pull him up into the broadcasting room while we've got this run going. Jordan Owens, man, so unfortunate. Talk us through what it's like driving through that complete, that super dense smoke where you just can't see anything.
You just nailed it. I didn't see Chuck at all. I saw was smoke. I mean, what can you do? You know, I apologize to Chuck, and of course he didn't care. He knew what was going on. So, it's one of those deals.
Yeah, Jordan, we saw you kind of battling back there from a couple of going a lap down a couple of times. What happened to get you back that far? Because I don't think we caught that on broadcast.
Well, I'd been babying it most of the race, so I wasn't worried about losing a lap early on. But then there was something coming off too with Mark and I think it was Dustin Dure. He got super loose and just came down into me. I spun out, so I got way behind. I didn't really have a lot of damage. I was just, track positions, everything. So it's all right, man. I mean, it's Darlington. That's what happens. So I'm going to get back out there about 10 minutes. So.
So how much damage do you have? What's
surprisingly not a lot. I could go back out right now. It's all optional, but I mean, I'm laps down. I'm just going to get it fixed. I'm not worried about it. So.
And hopefully, I mean, you should still be very much in range where you could still make that chase with the win at Daytona, with the points that you have. You've had a very solid season so far, running around that top 20 in points, doing a great job just kind of getting consistent results there. Obviously, tonight doesn't help, but that mentality that you have right there, which is that, the car's kind of messed up, but take that damage for a couple of minutes and then go out, run some laps, and you can beat a lot of drivers who kind of park it right after they meet any kind of adversity, especially in these long races.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Bristol, I finished top 20, and I had to get a whole engine replaced. So, you can't just give up. And, I've been top 15, top 20 battling all season long. Like, the one thing I've taken pride in this season is that you all haven't talked about me at all. which means I haven't been causing wrecks. I've been in the middle of the pack. I've been getting better, taking care of my stuff. That's what matters. Like last week I had a great race. Yeah, hey, we're getting there. It just takes time.
Yeah, Jordan, your improvement has been notable throughout this season. I mean, I remember when we started off and you won the dual race at Daytona, and it seemed like kind of a shot out of nowhere. And then we were talking about you next week as being one of those guys who it wouldn't shock us at all if you came out and won a race at Daytona.
Yeah, like the guys in Pro Edge, and of course, I race for Field Up, and we're like the sister team. So everyone in the league knows we're all basically the same group of guys. Like, they know I've been getting better, but no one else in the league's really been, super aware of it. And then I start showing up in the top 15, racing guys I haven't been racing, all of last year. And they're like, what is going on? I'm like, hey, just putting in the time. That's what it takes.
Absolutely, man. That's amazing to hear, and it's great to see as well the progress that drivers are making through the season. And I know myself. I've gone through it a couple of times. I'm sure David has as well, where you're just struggling to keep up with some of these guys who run top 5, top 10 every week, and you're just sitting there thinking, damn, what am I doing? But at the end of the day, it's just you put in those laps, you put in that effort, you put in that time, and it will come. That pace comes. That just all comes with experience. It's so easy to have massive disparities in experience on iRacing because of the fact that you can turn on an iRacing session whenever you have a free minute. And of course, everybody has completely different varying amounts of free time in their life.
Yeah, totally agree. Like, for me, it's been playing around with steering ratios and brake bias has made the biggest difference for me. And I know it, like, we're speaking a different language to people that's just watching the broadcast, but when you're in the actual iRacing simulator, it makes such a huge difference in the way a car feels.
I can confirm that. I've certainly been running better since I've been able to jump up on my steering ratio and lowering my brake bias. I've been able to carry a lot more speed in the corner, and what Jordan is saying is absolutely true. It also helps that I got a new wheel. I think that those kinds of
yeah,
things,
that helps a lot.
Yeah, when you get something that you want to, you spend a decent chunk of money on something like that, you want to participate even more. And sometimes these guys get a little bogged down from the week to week grind, I think, as well. And it's all about trying to keep having fun and keeping your head up. And even if you don't get the result you were looking for, you got to have something to draw. You gotta have something to draw that fun from, that desire to come back.
Yeah, I mean, like, hey, I just got involved in a massive wreck, and it could tick people off and make them go away and not race, but like, I'm still sitting in 23rd spot right now. Like, I got no reason to be angry. It could be way worse. I mean, I'm just playing a game, having fun with my friends, and it just happens to be extremely realistic. So, whatever.
You're about to get past, though. Brent Jones is about to go take you down.
Yeah, I know. I was like, do I want to go back out? And, I'm just going to wait. I'll get Chuck and Bowden, so, whatever.
It's a great mentality to have there, Jordan, and love having you up here in the booth, love having you racing your series. It's great to see that, and we need more drivers like you with that kind of thought process in these races, especially these long ones we've got here. I think too many people will look at it, say 367 laps, man, I'm not doing that with a damaged car. But a great mentality there, man, and best of luck in the rest of the race here and tonight, and then, of course, at Daytona tomorrow, trying to put that 16 car in victory lane.
Yeah, it's been wild. I've actually had such a consistent season. If I go out and win, I could actually, somehow sneak in. So we'll see. I really appreciate the work you guys are doing. I do the Monday nights, so I know how much goes into it. Of course, it's longer hours doing these races, but thanks for putting on the broadcast. It's really cool to be able to watch this stuff back on YouTube. I've been doing it a lot this season, so you guys take care the rest of the night. I'll catch you all later.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for stopping by, Jordan.
Thanks, guys.
I think Jordan touched on some really good points there that I kind of wanted to reiterate. Is just time spent around the sim is so crucial, and it doesn't even have to be driving. Something for myself is I found my driving on iRacing to, I wasn't doing too great about a season ago, and I took some time off, and I said, look, you know what? I'm going to commentate races. It allows me to observe what some of these guys are doing. It's amazing to watch these onboards of what the leaders are doing, what the race winners are doing, what the championship leaders are doing, understanding how they drive the car. I crew chief for a car in the Xfinity League, and I'm driving a truck on Sunday night. So 3 nights a week there, involved in all three of these NASCAR series. I'm personally learning a lot, and it's just great to be involved. Again, like Jordan said, you're having fun with your friends. It's just a good time. As the caution flag does come out here, after a pretty long run there, we did have, that was about 20 laps there, so a pretty medium-sized run there. Not quite sure, though, where the slow car is on track.
Michael Goodman, maybe? Trying to look and see which cars were slower, but Goodman's on pit road.
It is Michael
And
Goodman
he
because
wasn't on pit road before.
Yeah, Michael Goodman there because that's a toe to pit road with the timing there. So we'll take a look there. But yeah, I mean, experience is everything, no matter what it is. If it's in the seat, if it's watching from up here in the booth or watching from the pit box, there's so many things you can do. And if you want to get yourself involved, there's so many ways to do so. And Michael Goodman just unfortunately loose, probably gets tight there off of turn 4, gets that right front, turns it to the outside wall, and we've seen that accident a number of times already. Good job by all the other drivers to avoid that accident as well.
Frustrating for Michael Goodman. You turned it left through that corner 215 times, and the 216th you spin it out. It's just a frustrating night for him. He got caught up in something real early, and it knocked him off the pace. Yeah, you hate to see that, end like that for him. But man, Hank Steinmiller had a 2-second lead on teammate Tyler Fode there. The old 63 car looks like it might be the class of the field now that the 24 is gone.
Yeah, I was going to say Hank Steinmiller right now, as long as he can keep that car ahead of the 40 and the 37 on restarts, he's going to be tough to beat. Tyler Fode, I think, and Ethan Burrell have his number on these restarts. They've got the short run speed in their cars, but man, oh man, once you get past about 10 laps or so, I think Hank Steinmiller comes to life.
Right, they got to jump on him early in the run, and Ethan Burrell was not able to hang with him on that last restart. He had fallen back into the clutches of Fode, and the guy who's really coming on amongst this top group is Josh Adams, 5th. He was kind of hunting down Matthew Weeks for 4th, but right now I think we've got the top 5 ordered in terms of like fastest to slowest, at least for the first 216 laps of this thing. So it all matters now is whether or not they can kind of make some adjustments and to their way they're driving to see if they can't affect how they're going to be able to finish this race off. And also they need to avoid mistakes like speeding up pit road or anything else like that.
Absolutely, and I want to be give a quick little shout to this 36 car. Dylan Thomas, I believe this is his first or one of his first starts in the Cup Series, doing an amazing job right now running P6. Just filling in there, obviously running with a great crew there with that Lake Norman Motorsports team, one of the best teams we've got here in the Elite Racing Leagues, one of the most competitive teams we've got in the Elite Racing Leagues, and he's doing a great job filling those shoes for Ryan Lutz. Big shoes to fill, of course, driver the number 36, but right now, Dylan Thomas certainly impressing on I believe his debut here in the Elite Cup Series.
He was with us last week. He was the one who got smashed into by Matthew Weeks. Right there. Johnny Thomas comes back down pit road. A bit curious of a move for the points leader. He had moved into 7th before that move to pit road. So points leader Johnny Thomas now sacrificing some track position. I can't imagine why he would be doing that other than maybe to top off the fuel tank.
Possibly some right side damage or something just to fix up if he has some time on pit road. No, it looks like a fuel.
A little fuel splash.
Top off of fuel there. So an interesting call there for Johnny Thomas or something there, but deciding that it's better to give up that track position right now and get whatever he needed to get, whatever service he needed to get there on pit road and take that. So there you go.
I think Johnny Thomas is looking to try to make this a one-stop race from here. And that's the key behind that call. 147 laps to go, and then he would be dividing that in half. So he would want to be running 2 72-lap runs. I think that's what he's going for.
That seems
I don't
long.
think he's going to necessarily be able to do that. Nor do I think we're going to have 72 consecutive caution-free laps. But yeah, I guess it's worth a shot.
Certainly worth a shot, yeah, and who knows, but yeah, we'll head back to this first green flag run and try and get this back underway here. Hank Steinmiller, Tyler Fode, that front row, expect them to coordinate something to get Tyler Fode back in line. Hank Steinmiller hits the gas pedal, and ooh, we have a checkup on the outside lane, though, as it looked like, who was that? I think that was the 30.
I think it's Weeks.
It might have been Matthew Weeks, runs into the back of David Tooker, could it have been?
Oh, man, I don't know, but Tooker's back up into 5th spot. Now, if Tooker was on the bottom, maybe it was Dylan Thomas?
It could have been Dylan Thomas there. Yeah, Dylan Thomas was running P6. Might have actually checked up there or not gotten the start that he needed there. And there you go, Dylan Thomas potentially, not getting underway there. And this second pack kind of already very much separated away from the rest of these guys here up front.
Watching it back, Tyler Fode was the first car on the outside lane. I'm going to see if I can't understand that. Restart a little better. Yeah, Fode didn't get going, and then Thomas got into the back of Matthew Weeks.
All right.
And it stacked up the outside lane.
Yeah, so Dylan Thomas, you saw there the damage on the back of the 11 car. That's likely from there, the 36. And Hank Steinmiller has found something on the short run because there you go, fastest lap of the race. Steinmiller now, I mean, there's no weaknesses to the 63 car. I thought it was on his short run. Not a chance. He's figured something out, and he's stretching that gap over Tyler Fode, who admittedly didn't have a great restart. But man, oh man, here we go. Hank Steinmiller, what a run he's putting in so far. Ethan Burrell, what can he do to try and get P2 again?
Right, Ethan Burrell is a self-proclaimed man who always finishes second, and certainly battling for that again right here. He's the only time we've seen Ethan Burrell challenging for the lead was when he ran down Colin Bowden on a short run, but he has not been able to get close to the 63 car. Caution back out on the speedway once again. Whoa, Damian Leininger and Scott Haney, big crash there. I think that's exiting turn 2.
And Chad Frankenfield here as well.
Yep.
12 car and 15 car in a wreck together. That doesn't sound familiar at all. Let's take a look and see what happened on this replay.
Oh boy, I have my hesitations, and we'll just wait and see what happens.
We will take a look and figure out what happened on this run here. It seems to start all the way off of turn 4. Let's take a look and watch and follow Damian Leininger, number 12.
Kendall, ooh, they check up in front of Damian there, and
So accident still coming here as they head into turn 1. It's Fern diving it down 3 wide, takes out Damian Leininger. Fern goes spinning around, and Damian slides up, collects Chad Frankenfield. Yeah, I think that all started with that move by the 86 car.
Did Chad clear out the 3 car there too, who was just trying to sneak his way by the wreck?
I believe so. Chad may have come back down the racetrack here. Let's take a look at the iRace Online replay from Chad Frankenfield's point of view. We saw that incident with the 86 car. Chad Frankenfield relatively clear all the way up to that point. We'll take a look and see just what happened here.
Nearly a big moment for Johnny Thomas there. Johnny's gonna dodge this. Chad is not.
Ooh, there
Bang,
you go.
right there.
And here we go. This is where
not holding the brake and not holding the brake again and clearing out Scott Haney. So a pair of moves that I do not approve of at all. And Damian Leininger has joined the waiting room, and I'm going to let Damian take this one for me because I am not too pleased with some of our drivers in that one. Let's bring Damian.
Yeah.
So, Damian, what do you have to say about that? Because I could say what I want to say, but I'm just gonna refrain for now.
A quick reminder before you say, Damian, we are on live YouTube.
Can I just say 2 words?
Oh no.
Maybe.
Free.
You're free.
Rent free.
Rent
free.
If you guys are in the chat, you guys know it. The viewers won't know it, but for the broadcasters, they will.
I do.
It was just crap. me, anyways. I mean, I had short run speed, it seemed like, but on the long run, I was murdering the right front. I don't know why. I was doing everything I could to try and save it, and it was just burning up. So as soon as we got past 20 laps in the run, it just stopped turning. And I would just fall backwards, anyways.
Yeah, and Rish actually kind of figured out, I think, a little bit on why you hit the wall on maybe lap 10, and we felt like that was going to tighten your car up, and we saw you in the wall a couple more times throughout the night. And, that kind of correlated with what we were seeing, was that your car tightened up and your right front got way worse off from that first bounce off the wall.
Even through practice, really, it was doing the same thing. I just didn't have a good feel for the setup tonight. It was a lot tighter than I had ran a cup race at Darlington in another league a couple weeks ago, and the setup was just a lot looser. But we lowered the tape down because it was overheating, so we lowered that down. I think that just really tightened up and kind of threw me for a curveball because I had got used to that setup, and then this one was just kind of a little bit different and not really what I was expecting it to be.
I mean, Damien, it's been 2 seasons in a row, man, where it's just been, things have not gone your way, and we've seen this. Something about the Cup Series right now, and heck, even the Xfinity Series. I know you haven't had some great luck there either, but something about these two series are just really getting this 12 car and this 12 team, and I mean, what is it, and what can you do to try and overcome this? I'm sure you've thought of everything or tried to think of everything. But what is that missing piece?
Rish, it isn't just Elite either. I mean, you can ask David. He broadcasts to Erska, and I think I was looking earlier. My best finish is 22nd over there, and I finished like 5th or 6th in the points last year. It's just been that kind of year overall. I don't really know what else I can do. I like the Xfinity car more than the Cup car, anyways. But it just, if I had an answer for this one, I'd try and figure it out. But I'm clueless at this point. I mean, I've tried different paint schemes. I've tried changing rituals. I mean, everything. I don't know. Do I need to get like a voodoo in here? Some feng shui in the room? I don't know.
Well, whatever you get, I want some of it for my own luck. So if you figure it out, you gotta let me know.
Yeah, if I find something, I'll let you guys know. But it ain't working so far.
Well, we're back under green flag conditions here at Darlington. We'll just quickly get some of that underway. But I think these guys might be. Nope, we're staying green here. There was a bit of smoke off of turn 2, but yeah, we're staying green here. Damien, talk about these restarts and how hectic they can get. It's pretty clear you've got one groove heading into turn 1, and obviously we're restarting 2 by 2. I mean, just what can you do too wide there, heading into a corner like that? I mean, you go too wide, and there's a good chance that 1 or 2 of the drivers in there crash, let alone 3 wide into something that you're just involved in.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch Darlington, Darlington's a one-line track anyways. And it's harder on iRacing because we always talk about the net code and the boxes around the cars. So you're trying to be even more mindful of who you're racing around and what's going to happen, with net code, which can be completely random and wild at times. So it's very nerve-wracking going into a corner and seeing who's going to give you the spot, who's going to try and fight you for the spot. And then understand that, like, hey, when you're coming off a corner, they're going to be tight. You can only really run the one groove. You're not going to be able to go too wide through there. So just kind of being mindful of who you're around and what's really happening as far, and trying to avoid any sketchy situations that might even give a hint of net code.
And Damien, I would also love to hear from you how you think your teammate Hank Steinmiller is doing today. Maybe what he has that you haven't been able to figure out necessarily about this racetrack, because he seems like he's really got the class of the field now that the 24 car's out of it.
Yeah, Hank and Brody, I mean, they've both been really good tonight. I'm glad for Hank. He's fighting for a playoff spot, so hopefully he can go pull this thing off and get him a secured playoff spot. I don't know. He seemed to be wearing the right front too. Not as bad as me, but he was wearing it a little bit more than Brody was, from what we were all talking about. He tried to tell me his line he was running, and I don't want to give away all those secrets and stuff, but he tried to tell me the line. I mean, I guess I should, because it didn't work for me, but I mean, I just couldn't replicate what he was doing. I don't understand how they were doing it. I mean, you have those points, you have those tracks where you could find something, somebody can tell you, and it will work, and it just wasn't really able to my driving style and how the setup was feeling to me tonight.
All right, well, Damian, thanks so much for talking to us here. Unfortunate luck and just unfortunate circumstances here tonight at Darlington, and unfortunately your SMRI Southern 500 comes to an end early. Daytona next week, though, and we know you've had some recent success at plate track, so fingers crossed for you there that you can get some result out of that and possibly put that 12-car victory in some solace for the rough couple of seasons you've had here.
Yeah, I have won a Daytona go or go home race before, so who knows? Maybe that's the luck we need. But thanks, guys, for broadcasting this, and thanks to everybody for watching. And my Lake Norman guys, have got to give a couple shout outs real quick. Batflip Podcast and Belly Up Sports for everything. So thanks, guys.
All right, Damian Leininger there, unfortunately, out of the race there early. Man, if that guy had, I mean, that guy just needs an ounce of good luck, realistically, and so much could change in these past couple of seasons, but it really has not been his way for him. Johnny Thomas was on the move there forward, kind of backed out of that move there a little bit late on Dylan Thomas for 12th position. Colin Fern was trying to get past Jared Rexing, and there we go. He is now getting past that 10 car of Rexing, and Harrison Talon up to 7th position. He's made a strong recovery after spinning out in a couple of incidents, I think a couple of cautions ago.
It warms my heart when the Caterpillar-themed car is running well. That's all I gotta say. I know we're watching Colin Fern pick his way through the field again, and boy, Damian wasn't too upset about it. He mentioned the rent-free thing and some of the talk that's been made about the way Fern's driving. Fern's been pretty unapologetic for the way he drives, and I would say just throwing it in 3 wide on the apron with 100 and some odd laps to go for 10th place or I guess that was even like 13th place. Is pretty is not the way I would want to drive, and not the way I would want anyone to drive around me. And he's been unapologetic about it. And I commend Damian for being as calm and clear as he was there. Might have been stark raving mad if it were me.
It is interesting, and it's a discussion point that we're fortunate to be privy to much of the driver discussion that goes on, and be able to share some of that with our viewers at home. But there are discussions about the actions that drivers make on track as Harrison Talon kind of dives below and allows the 11 car and 10 to go by as they fight for position on the 8th spot here in a great little scrap. But we do get to kind of hear and talk about different drivers and different things, and sure, not all of the talk about certain drivers is friendly. But at the end of the day, I think there's everybody in this league wants to see it get better. And I think it's just different visions for how it does that, and that's kind of what you see a lot of this clashing that happens on track, off the racetrack, wherever you go. And it's something that I think the league administrators are going to take a look at, especially once we get to the off season. There's a lot of different moves that can be made that I think they're evaluating. So in terms of penalizing drivers who make moves like that and making sure that those are, this season the top rule change that was made was more lenient on racing deals, on racing incidents, not giving EOLs for every single crash. That was a big addition this year, and we're seeing some drivers take advantage of it. So trying to figure out how to balance that act is going to be kind of crucial for the elite racing leagues to figure out heading into 2021B.
Yeah, and I think we got those big 20 caution races when there were EOLs. We got them when there weren't. So to me, the EOL system is the problem here. It's it's finding a way to get drivers to respect one another, and it's always been that. And so the EOL system was designed to initiate respect out of personal interest. I don't want to go to the back. I don't want to get penalized. I don't want to lose points, so I need to race clean. Well, that didn't work because people just raced dirty anyway. So I think there needs to be maybe something done in the sense that just in terms of maybe who you let in the league, if you get a certain group of drivers together who maybe are your core drivers that are, universally decide, hey, this person, we don't race well around this person because 90% of the drivers in this league, as you see Rexing and Clark, I mean, two guys I would, provide as great examples, race perfectly well together all the time. We saw Harrison backing out and let people by. Harrison's as clean as they come. Nobody's not wanting Harrison to show up each and every week. It seems like the same guys are garnering complaints to me. And in that case, it would make it pretty easy. Is, hey, if you don't show respect and treat everyone in the league the same way that you'd want to be treated, then you don't need to race with us.
Absolutely. We'll, follow up with that kind of discussion as it goes on. I know it's something we've talked about on the air as well in the past, and certainly something that I think we both feel fairly strongly needs to be addressed, but something that is still certainly present right now in these races. And right now, Colin Fern back up to P5 and chasing down Josh Adams, his teammate, in that number 95 car, but up front, Ethan Burrell not really able to close in on Tyler Fode. Tyler Fode not quite able to hang on to Hank Steinmiller, who's 1.2 seconds up the road right now. The battle for 8th, though, between teammates, going to kind of be, I think, probably a friendly little overtake there for Matthew Weeks on Josh Clark, as Johnny Thomas hangs out in the 10th position behind these two Pro Edge Racing Toyotas.
I think it's worth noting that Johnny, Matthew Weeks, Colin Fern, and Jared Rexing all have 8-lap fresher tires than the cars they're racing around, as Weeks bounces it off the fence. So those guys definitely have a little more momentum. Clark a little bit less grip, yielding these positions. Harrison Talon was another one yielding up positions with older tires to the cars around him that had fresher rubbers. So Johnny Thomas back into the top 10. He will be chasing after, no doubt, Josh Adams, who is the car he's going to be racing for in points. Gerald Campbell back in 13th now. Certainly lost touch a little bit with Johnny Thomas and Josh Adams, whom he was racing with before that last caution. So kind of maybe a big swing there. As Tooker about loses it off of 4 and lets Weeks, his teammate, go by. He's going to be letting a couple more cars go by. Tooker might have a problem.
Yeah, what's going on here with the 19 car? David Tooker very slow, but he seems to be getting back up to speed here. We'll take a look off of turn 2, see what happened to this 19 car. Might have just lost that momentum there, and that can easily drop you down 1 or 2 positions. Seems to be back on the pace, though. As Josh Clark maybe taps the wall with the right rear tire there in 3 and 4.
Not a good corner for Pro Edge Motor Racing. Those guys have gotten it sideways a little bit. I think Tooker just got sideways, got out of his rhythm, and decided it was going to be better to not take anybody else out in this race. He does have an EOL from that one incident, so I think that's some safe driving from Tooker, some self-preservation driving. He's still in the top 10, still has a chance for a good run, so he wants to make sure he can get her to the end, but the caution is out anyway.
Caution is out, and it's Dylan Thomas around in turn number 1. Let's take a look and see what happened that led to the 36 car going around. He was having a good run up until that point there where I think, just was doing a solid job keeping his nose relatively clean here. Let's take a look here. He's got some lap cars, though, the 15 and the 16 Tornones back out on the racetrack after speaking to him on pit road. So just trying to get those laps in. What happens here to the 36? Ooh, just misjudges, I think, the closing speed on the 15 car.
And Zishan gets hit, and Scott Haney's in another one that he didn't start.
God.
I think Zishan's going to be okay, but, man, I hate it for Zishan and Scott Haney. Those guys putting together clean runs. They've just been out of the way of everyone else, and they've been caught up in some really dumb stuff. Hate to see it. Chad and Jordan are just out there pacing right now, 15, 20, 27 laps down for some of those guys. We saw Mark Robilis pulling to the apron a while back, and we haven't even seen Brent Jones, who is 20 laps down. Brent's been pulling his weight in terms of being a lapped car, but it seems like Chad Frankenfield just has been in the way a little bit more than anybody else has out there.
Talk us about this throwback scheme we've got on the 89 car, a different one that we're used to seeing in the Coney Setup Shop, number 89.
Yeah, it's another Greg Sachs car. We got some Greg Sachs representation in the race today between Tyler Fode and Brent Jones. This one's from a little bit earlier in Sachs's career. but Brent painted this himself, and he tends to do that with his own schemes. He's painted me schemes before. Brent does a great job. And yeah, he had that one incident that wasn't of his own making earlier, and then just now got another lap back. He's down to 19 down. He's up to P19. He definitely stayed in and fixed that damage, but it just is what it is, and he's putting together a solid run. I think overall he's going to get a good result out of maybe a bad start to the day. Brent Jones is not one whom I see give up very often.
Absolutely, yeah. It's great to see that. Brent Jones has been through a lot over the course of the past couple of seasons. I know he's working so hard, tirelessly, to get himself back to the midfield, try and fight with a lot of these guys, back up to the front pack, pace-wise here in the Elite Racing Leagues, and it's great to see the progress he makes every week. Has a lot of really strong runs here, unfortunately. Out of the race, they're pretty early, caught up in a big wreck, 19 laps down, but still running around and being respectful to the leaders, which is extremely important there. Just a great run there, and always great to see Brent when he brings it home to the finish, especially at these long races, can always put together some pretty strong runs.
Yeah, Brent's best bets are usually these long endurance races. They tend to go his way a little bit more. He's able to kind of keep it going. He's got that perseverance factor, and he's going to end up beating out guys like Damian Leininger, Colin Bowden, Chuck Sweeting. So, that's just how it goes with these endurance races. If you've got that perseverance, like some of these guys in the mid-teens, right now, I hesitate to bring their names up because every time I do, we lose them. But I do like the way the guy driving 12th is running. If you let his name scroll by on the ticker, this 87 car, Richard Hines is doing a great job, and hopefully he doesn't bite it immediately.
I was going to say, and disconnected for Richard Hines.
What happened to David Tooker? That's another good question. Tooker seems to no longer be on the track.
Yeah, that's interesting there. David Tooker gone from the race right now, and just maybe out there.
Maybe an internet issue or something along the lines, or potentially, another a victim of the long endurance race could be David Tooker.
Yeah, absolutely. There could be something there, and but that could be the 19 car out. So unfortunate for him. He had some pretty solid pace there early on in the run, and was just kind of recovering after that accident there with Chad Frankenfield. With it was Ryan Gavel as well. I think he was involved in that.
Speaking of Ryan Gavel, I believe the one car is back on track.
He is. There he is. I mean, Ryan Gavel, 225 laps down as we're about to go back to green flag. I mean, there you go. You want to talk about guys coming around doing laps just to grab the points. Ryan Gavel trying to keep his regular season championship hopes as alive as possible. But here we go. On the restart, it's Tyler Fody slotting into second place, and it's Ethan Burrell trying to work the outside over Colin Fern, and he gets it, keeping third position away from that 86 car. A good restart there from Ethan Burrell.
Tyler Fody coming after his teammate. He'll think better of it entering turn 3 and wait. Hank Steinmiller doing Kevin Harvick a proud one in this 63 car. He has been dominant today. The only point at which Hank Steinmiller wasn't the dominant car was when Colin Bowden flashed past him for the lead for about 150 laps or so. But other than that, it's been all Hank Steinmiller. Bowden has since retired from the race. Hank's still going in that 63 car and looking strong.
Yeah, still looking really, really good here, and we're getting close to that 100 laps to go mark. It's coming down slowly but surely, and we're getting close to the end here, and we've really got, I think, 3 protagonists in this race right now, and it's these 3 cars you see on your screen. Hank Steinmiller has been the car to beat, but Tyler Fody, Ethan Burrell, they've both been thereabouts with the 63 car, and I think they've been adjusting. They've been trying to find what they can do, and I think with each run they stay slightly closer to the 63 car on the long run. So figuring something out right now, and look to these 3 to be the guys who will make the move, and one of the winner of this race, I'm going to call it here, is going to be one of these drivers. Excuse me there, slight issue with the broadcasting application. We're not in replay. This is live pictures.
All right. Yeah, I was going to say maybe we need to hit the live button. Tyler Dixon sent in an interview quote and said, "Thank God it's Daytona next week." one of those drivers like Jordan Owens that we predicted might have a chance to sneak in an upset victory and claim a chase position.
Oh, absolutely. It's and a little update on the Ryan Gavel situation. You said he's running. The time he spent on pit road, 1 hour, 12 minutes, and 8 seconds. That is commitment to getting that car back out on the racetrack by that virtual pit crew. I'm sure many would have packed it up and called it a night.
I'm looking at the laps. He's got about 100 laps to go. The drivers that are 100 laps in front of him, he can get all the way up to 21st in this race if he perseveres through. And if Michael Goodman stays where he is, then I think Brian Gallo would get 22nd. And if anybody falls out in the next 6 laps, which David Tooker would be one of them, Gavel could end up with a top 20 finish if he were to run the rest of the laps here tonight.
Very, very interesting there. And yeah, I mean, Ryan Gavel right now, even where he sits, this would not be his drop race, actually. He'd still have a 30th place at Las Vegas as his worst race. So whatever result he gets here is counting towards his season points. And so that means every point he gathers here is going to be very, very important. So just keep it running if he can, and yeah, he can make up significant ground. Yeah, or well, not make up significant ground to the guys he's battling, but at least prevent the bleeding to fall down to P4 or possibly beyond.
Battle for the lead is heating up. I'll wait to bring up the point that I realized here after this battle simmers down a little bit. Hank, though, not able to pull out nearly as far as he had been on Tyler Fode. Fode, like Damien kind of mentioned to us, able to keep that right front cool. Maybe he's got some ability to push it harder every now and again. But I did want to mention that we missed the stage.
I recognize that
break.
at lap 256.
Yep.
I looked over and saw we had already passed that point. Our apologies. I don't know the running order at that point.
Good news is I went and got it. Hank Steinmiller won the stage. He would have been over Tyler Fode, Ethan Burrell, Josh Adams, David Tooker. Was 5th at that point. Then Josh Clark got 6th for the stage, and then I think Harrison Talon got 7th. At that point, it's fewer points, but Hank Steinmiller did pick up a stage victory. That's all we can kind of mention there.
All right.
Hank is also pulling away from Fode now, and so I've been petitioning the drivers to grab one for interviews, and we got another one. Michael Goodman is going to join us in the booth now after kind of a miserable night.
Absolutely, you're.
Oh, I just lost him completely. Oh, there he is.
Put in the wrong booth there, it seems.
I did. Well, let me text him and tell him to just move himself into the booth.
Here, let me throw one here.
There we go.
Into the broadcasting room. There we go. We got him now. Michael Goodman, man. It's not been a great night, admittedly, for that 44 car. Just talk us through some of the crazy rides you've seen here on some of those cautions there.
Yeah, it was not my night for sure tonight. It's just really tight getting out of the corners, and if you don't have it set up just right, it can be pretty ugly out there. And second wreck, I was just riding around and just all of a sudden lost her. So if you're kind of not paying attention, like they said, the lady in black can jump out and bite you.
Michael, talk about how difficult it is to have something as unfortunate as saving your car into a lapped car that can be the thing to ruin your night. I know I'm no stranger to those unfortunate instances, but I mean, how ridiculous that you couldn't come off the wall and drive to the apron because there was someone already there.
Yeah, I mean, and it was partly my fault too. I mean, I'm not gonna blame anyone on that one. I maybe more myself. It felt like it was a little early in the race. I thought he was gonna give me a little bit more room, but at the end of the day, I kind of set myself up not to really get out of the corner very well, and that's kind of why I got into the wall anyway.
Yeah, and Mike, the other thing I want to mention while Scott Haney's out here running 15th, And I think also that you made the Ethan Burrell scheme that he's running third with. You've contributed a really massive amount of the paints, the throwback paint schemes for this race. Can you just take us through, who you did and, the kind of the effort you've put in tonight to make this race kind of as awesome as it has been?
Yeah, I made quite a few cars. Ethan, hopefully he's doing my mama proud, running a third spot there. Yeah, quite a bit of cars. Haney was one of them. Myself, Dewar, Personette. So there was quite a few. Vincent Isabella. So yeah, it was fun to do. I enjoyed doing these throwback schemes. I'm not good at coming up with originals, but it's fun making these throwbacks come back to life, and it's been a fun time. And I got to give a shout out here to Haney too, hanging on there for that top 15 run so far here, and looking pretty strong.
Yeah, Haney got bopped into a couple of cautions in a row there, and your other do-good car, Brent Jones, sitting P18, despite his issues. And yeah, we've been monitoring Haney. He's doing a really great job, I think. And just caught up in some stuff that wasn't his fault for sure.
Yeah, and even with Brent, with the special start here tonight, he turned his car off, couldn't get the ignition back going, so he kind of started off on the wrong foot, but kept it in there and got that top 20 going, so that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a great run for Brent Jones. It's been a good run here for Scott Haney here, kind of recovering right now, running P15. It's not been the cleanest of nights, unfortunately, for your team, and through no fault of your drivers, just being unfortunate, getting caught up in a lot of other messes that have been going on out on the racetrack. But still, I mean, a lot of grit by your guys to still be out there with some of the damage that they've collected, and been very impressive. Also by yourself as well to have been running for as long as you were with some of the damage that ended up there, and of course right now sitting on pit road for what is it? It's been 36 minutes.
Yeah, it's been a minute. Yeah, and really, I think a lot of the other new good cars, they got caught up and stuff, but for me tonight it was mostly my own errors here. But yeah, that's one thing I always tell these guys, kind of do the old John Wayne, got to show that true grit and try to get running or keep running at the end. It was at Bristol, I think I was like 50 laps down and still ended up with a top 15 run there. So you never know what could happen in these full distance races when you show that true grit.
And Goody, are you going to get back out there and finish her up?
I got to show that true grit, man.
Love to see that. Amazing there. And yeah, thanks so much for joining us up here in the booth. How many more minutes do you have on that repair job?
Down to 6 minutes, or 7 minutes yet. Sorry.
All right. Well, we should hopefully be seeing that 44 car back on track pretty soon. Looking forward to it, man.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right, Michael Goodman there, driver the number 44 car for Do Good Motorsports. Like you said there, just hasn't been the cleanest of nights for those guys, but there you go. That same grit that we were talking about, just sitting it out and running these long races, getting those laps in, it can make such a big difference, even with a totally damaged car.
Yeah, and I think that he's absolutely right, and so when you maybe want to think to disparage anyone for running, picking up a good result, as speaking of people who've picked up good results, David Tooker has returned to the speedway. The 19 car will be back on track momentarily for whatever ailment that cost him 23 laps. He will be recovering from that momentarily. Zishan Dura also getting back on track, 24 laps down after a long pit stop to fix the damage from that last wreck. I can't disparage any of those guys that stick it out, right? Because this race is 367 laps long, so it doesn't matter whether you're fast on one lap or on 20 laps or 100 laps. You have to be able to make all of the laps or as many of the laps as you can. And some of these guys are unable or unwilling to do that. And some guys get into trouble and overdrive their cars, and we've seen that all night as well. So anybody who can make it that long, like Scott Haney and Brent Jones, currently P15 and 16, and as well as they have, I can't disparage them. They've done a fantastic job to keep those cars as clean as possible, as long as possible. They're going to turn, 347 to 364 laps tonight, and that's going to be enough to pick up a top 15.
For sure. With that being said, then we're gonna take a quick break here. We got a little bit of a lull. No big battles on the racetrack right now. We'll be back with you guys in just a minute after a quick word from the premier sponsors here at the Elite Racing Network.
My name is John Cunningham with C2 Freight Resources. We are a Hub Zone certified logistics company here in Houston, Alabama. We've been in business for over 20 years, working with the Department of Defense and the federal government, among many other customers. C2 is committed to truckload shipments along with less than truckload shipments across the United States, Canada, and Mexico. Our high level of service is what keeps our customers coming back year after year. Our industry-leading transportation management software, along with our tracking software, allow our customers to know where their shipments are at any time, any day. In closing, C2 Freight looks forward to earning your trust and business through actions day in and day out. We know if given the opportunity, you'll be pleased with our service and communication.
Richmar Florist makes every day a special day, from weddings and large events to that little something for any occasion. Richmar Florist has the perfect floral expression, and they're open online 24/7 at richmarflorist.com. Everywhere, every day. Richmar's 2 retail locations offer a fantastic selection of floral creations, gifts, and home decor. Book your free consultation in our showroom for your special event needs, and visit us online at richmarflorist.com today.
Back to the action here at Darlington Speedway. It's the SMRI Southern 500. Here you got Hank Steinmiller leading the way, currently still in that 63 car, though Tyler Fody is closing in. He's really reduced that gap in the last couple of laps down to about 0.3 of a second from where it was about 0.8 of a second just a couple of laps ago. So could this be coming to the 40 car a little bit late in the run here? 32 laps on these tires. David Westergreen back with me in the booth as well. We're watching this battle as it kind of goes on here, and what can Tyler Fody do? What will he do to a teammate who's looking to win his way in? Will Tyler Fody cut him a break, or will Tyler Fody, who's already in on a win, try to get those extra playoff points? We know that these guys like to race it out for the wins, but man, it's close for Hank Steinmiller for sure.
Yeah, the question will probably be whether or not Tyler Fody feels like, Hank's going to get him back later on. I don't know that passing him right now would, dictate the outcome of this race at the end of the day. But, I can't help but wonder, I guess, really Johnny Thomas topping off there a while back isn't going to matter at all. I think these guys are all going to have to make one more stop guaranteed. But yeah, so I think that pit stop may swing things back in Hank Steinmiller's favor, regardless of whether or not Tyler Fody can hunt him down right here. Hank's opening the gap back up. Maybe he caught lap traffic at a bit of a bad time, but regardless, man, Hank Steinmiller has been awesome tonight.
He really has been. Yeah, that gap up to 0.6 of a second once again. So Hank Steinmiller maybe just kind of, like you said, traffic or just a couple of laps that didn't quite go as well as he might have hoped, finding that rhythm once again. That 63 car back up to a 0.7 of a second lead. And a little bit further back in the pack here, Johnny Thomas still working his way back up the order after kind of starting further down and not really very slowly, I guess, over the course of the past 287 laps, basically finding his way back up the order. Reminder, he took that extra fuel that David just mentioned. He's got a little bit more on board than some of these other drivers. He lost all that track position because of that. He's worked his way back up to the 9th position, right now trying to work on Joshua Clark to grab 8th.
I had kind of thrown Gerald Campbell out the window earlier. I just kind of mentioned him in passing, saying he had really seemingly thrown away his opportunity to make up points. And nope, he's right there with Johnny Thomas. Not going to lose anything and going to gain on Ryan Gavel. As we've mentioned, Gavel has picked up 2 spots since we noted that he was back on track. He's still 21 laps away from Andrew Rucker, though, and then he'll pick up 2 or 3 spots fairly quickly. But Gavel's 20th place finish at the end of this race, certain. Oh, here comes Weeks on Fern. These guys have been at odds, I would say, with each other throughout the rest of this season. And Weeks clearly not giving Fern any breaks, though I kind of understand why after watching him tonight.
Yeah, Matthew Weeks right now trying to make the move, I believe, on Colin Fern, who's been running P4, but I think struggling on the long run. This 11 car coming to life as the run goes on. Matthew Weeks has been extremely impressive. I think just hasn't had that same track position to put him in the same league as Ethan Burrell, Tyler Fody, and Hank Steinmiller. But right now it feels like Matthew Weeks is the best of the rest here, and he's showing it, trying to get past Colin Fern, though. Again, we know Fern aggressive on overtakes, aggressive on defense as well, aggressive in general. Look out, that 86 car. And like you said, the 11 and 86, they've clashed before in the JoinAPS Cup Series, and it's certainly not out of the question that they might again.
It was in Milwaukee where Colin Fern bounced off of Matthew Weeks and bounced off of Matthew Weeks' teammate, drew our ire, drew the ire of the Pro Edge Racing guys and a number of the drivers in the Elite Racing League. And since then, especially some of the moves we've seen tonight as well as other nights, Colin Fern just has been simply known as the most aggressive driver in the garage. And in that case, Matthew Weeks is not going to be going after him with any sort of hesitation here. He's going to be going in, looking to lay the bumper to him and make that move as aggressive as possible, because he knows Fern's going to only do the same thing in return.
Absolutely. Here we go. Matthew Weeks still hanging on to that bumper of the 86. He's got the pace over the 86 right now, Matthew Weeks. Faster just about, wherever he needs to be. This 11 car looking great, especially off the corner. I think he's getting some of the runs fairly good there, though Colin Fern hanging on just with enough of a gap right now over the 11 car. Matthew Weeks just kind of has to set him up. Tight, I think, there on the corner for Weeks, though. We'll see how that affects his run off of 2.
Didn't at all. He got a lot of run. I think maybe Weeks was trying to dime that corner a little bit and get up closer to the wall than Fern is. You see he's doing it once again, trying to get a little bit extra run off the corners. And, maybe overdrove it just a little bit there and got it into the fence. He'll have to dial it up once again, get back into his rhythm. Matthew Weeks has bounced it off the wall and given some space to 4th place.
Yep, so Matthew Weeks going to take a few laps here to recover, try and get back into it. Shouldn't be too long. We expect that 11 car. Looks pretty fast right now. Chris Wright, winner of the Darlington race on Monday night in the Xfinity Series. He's just asking, how's Josh Adams doing? And Josh Adams, update on that 95 car right now, running right behind that battle we've been watching for 4th. So 6th position right now for this 95 car. Of our kind of championship for kind of those top 4 drivers in the championship right now, he is the highest placed of them, looking to make the most ground on our championship leader, Johnny Thomas. Though only 3 spots in front of the 09, 4 spots in front of the 31, and all of these guys, quite a few in front of Ryan Gavel, who's out there on the racetrack, just unfortunately 128 laps down.
Yep, Gavel is definitely persevering, though. He's going to pick up the spots that he is able to pick up. We also noted that Michael Goodman was going to be out there picking up spots. I believe Michael is back out on track after talking with us there. And, there's the 44 car coming up behind 3rd place Ethan Burrell. So we'll see Goody move the Terry Labonte scheme on by. The Goody's his mama's scheme that Ethan Burrell is running.
Absolutely, the Miss Goodies paint scheme there. Sponsors a number of cars here in the Elite Racing League. So, of course, big shout out to Michael Goodman getting his mother involved there. And there's so many great sponsors within the league, and we talk about them so much. How many of these drivers have actual, real life sponsorship, actual, people helping pay for their entry fees, helping pay for schemes and all of those things to be commissioned, all of that. There is a lot of support within this league. We've got, these drivers have that support, and it's great to see that, that support network continuing to grow here. This battle for 10th is pretty interesting here. Gerald Campbell versus Kendall Noah Player. Kendall Noah Player coming on strong pretty late here in this run. He had that great qualifying, fell back a little bit early in that first stint. But right now, that 94 car is so strong, and with a move to the inside, passes the 31, former teammate there, Gerald Campbell, and into the top 10 for Kendall No Player, and straight into the wall.
Oh, it's another one for you, Rich.
Oh, you know what? How about when the chase
man.
starts, I think we're gonna keep a tally, and we're gonna have some kind of bet going on whoever jinxes more drivers in the chase.
Got to.
We'll talk about that.
It's pretty fun.
Within the next week or so as well. Keep an eye out. We'll be doing our pre-chase show just as we did last season. David and I taking a look at all the drivers who'll make it in, and talking about our expectations, the tracks we'll visit, who to look out for, and who we expect our championship to be when it's all said and done. Keep an eye out for that. We'll be posting that to the Elite Racing Network YouTube page once again.
Absolutely, and I don't think after we've watched Kendall drop it off here, and I don't know that Kendall's gonna be too terribly upset with a 12th place run here, but overall, if and when he watches this one back, he'll only have you to blame as opposed to all those who have me to blame.
I was gonna say I had a list of drivers who had you to blame tonight at least.
It has been a brutal one for sure in terms of the broadcaster's jinx this evening, and yeah, we'll definitely have to take a look at it rolling through the playoffs as we go.
I was gonna say, if Damian Leininger's got a curse that he needs to get rid of his house, I think we might have some work to do in our home studios as well.
Just trying to get to the schedule there as well. We can maybe take a look at that going forward. Daytona next week, obviously. We've mentioned that one a number of times. That'll kick off the chase. Then we have the Mid-Ohio full course race. That'll certainly be an interesting challenge for these drivers, and I am looking for David Tooker, R.C. Anderson probably if he shows up for that one, and I'm sure he will, and Ryan Gavel to be the top favorites there. Then we have Legacy, Texas, the old oval, followed by the cutoff race at Talladega.
Yeah, so within 4 races, we've got 2 plate tracks. Oh, boy.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be interesting. And I'm sitting here wishing they gave one of those plate tracks to the Truck Series, but, it is what it is.
You and me both, bud. Our best finish of the year is that Daytona truck race. We were both in the top 5 in that one.
Loved that result there. That was a great little effort there. But, yeah, I mean, that first round is super interesting to me. I'm looking forward to seeing Legacy, Texas, and how that plays out. I mean, going from, I think, I never got to experience that racetrack in any capacity of as a fan or obviously on iRacing or anything like that. I'm curious to see how that plays out because I've only ever heard people rave about the old layout of Texas and how they ruined Texas with the modern layout. I'm looking forward to the race there. And then round 2, I mean, New Hampshire, great track. We've had great runs there. Homestead Miami Speedway, same thing. And Atlanta, of course, is a classic Cup Series track. And then finishing off the season at Phoenix. I mean, we've got a great chase schedule coming up, and I can't wait for all of these races I'm looking forward to. I can't single out a single one that's like, that one might be a dud.
No, for sure. And if you want some version of Legacy, Texas, I think you look no further than Atlanta Motor Speedway, but on the sim, or maybe even the way Charlotte ran last week is I think how we're going to kind of view Texas Legacy next week. It'll be 2 lanes. You'll be able to run higher and lower. I think that guys like Hank Steinmiller, who can figure out a way to wrap the track a little bit differently, are going to be the ones that can take it over. And we see Johnny Thomas overtake Josh Clark for 8th place. That is more points to the points leader. And if Josh Adams loses this spot to Jared Rexing, that would mean 1 point separates the 2 guys who are maybe in control of the point standings for that regular season championship. And Johnny Thomas's gap back would be about 20 points, I think, to this 95 car at the end of the day. Yep, there goes Jared Rexing.
There you go. So Jared Rexing up to the 6th position now over Josh Adams. Adams comes down pit road, so there you go. That's the decision right there.
Interesting.
So this is going to be enough to make it to the end, I believe. 60 laps should do it. So this is right at the start of that window. I think Josh Adams, as my guess at least, is this is where Josh Adams' decision comes in. So pitting here and trying to get some of that tire advantage early on and hoping he can kind of hang on with the track position, which is a very fair strategy here, I think, with track position being as important as it is around this racetrack.
Dividing this final run in half is Josh Adams and Kendall Noah Player both. They are trying to gain a little bit of an advantage, a little bit of track position advantage. And here comes Colin Fern doing the same thing, trying to short pit a little bit. Though I think even if you just stay out a couple of laps longer, given the amount of time we're going to be on the track and the potential for this thing to stay green the rest of the way, the longer you're able to stretch this run, the fresher your tires will be for the final run.
That's absolutely right. And also, all these guys who are pitting right now are at danger of putting themselves and trapping themselves a lap down if a caution comes out right now. And that happened around this point. Obviously, we didn't have a 367 lap race, but at this, close to the end in the Xfinity Series race. And I remember that because I made the call to stay out for my driver, and that put us back in contention for a top 6 result because we stayed out. There is very much a danger of pitting early here with those massive speed differentials that you see with guys on fresh tires. An incident is very likely.
And think about what happened to Hank Steinmiller last week with David Tooker. He and Tooker pitting a little bit later than some other guys like Chuck Sweeting and I think it was just Chuck Sweeting really that they were chasing down, but they had to really go for it, and then they came up on a lapped car, got 3 wide, and ended up getting taken out in that one. So we'll keep our eye on who does come down pit road. Right now, Richard Hines, the one on pit road from the lead lap.
Yeah, and this means the field is extremely spread out right now. Ethan Burrell, I believe, has also come down pit road. He's been in and off. He's been on and off there, running P10 right now. Just 1 lap down from our leader. But he's just come fresh off of pit road here. Next down is Joshua Clark. Dylan Thomas as well comes down pit road, brings that 36 car to a halt. So expect to see Hank Steinmiller, Tyler Fode, Matthew Weeks, a lot of these guys bringing those cars down relatively soon as well here.
Yep, a really good result, I think, for Hank Steinmiller is that this race goes green for a long time, and he is able to control when he goes down pit road without losing any time. Though I think the only cars that can really affect the Hank Steinmiller result in this race are this Ethan Burrell machine right here and Tyler Fode, his teammate right behind. Matthew Weeks is even too far behind to really affect anything. Colin Fern was already going to be way too far behind as well.
So it's tough to tell right now because Ethan Burrell is over a lap down from that 63 car. So tough to say exactly where that that cutoff is between drivers who stay out and what that gap needs to be. But Burrell's running 2 seconds a lap faster than Hank Steinmiller. Surely he's in contention right now to take over that lead. The question is, can he maintain it and hold off? Ooh, he does get checked up a little bit behind teammate Matthew Weeks there. But again, right now, Ethan Burrell just needs to make that run. We saw Chuck Sweeting do something similar here last week at Charlotte.
Yep.
Make that early pit stop, get that track position, and it worked out for him.
I'm thinking so hard about it right now because the short pit did work out, but it wasn't going to, right? As Matthew Weeks, I believe, is jumping down pit road now. Maybe not. I can't tell. His speed's really low. Yeah, he's coming down pit road. So another call there. But again, I think the only ones able to contend here is Burrell has already come, and he's 4.5, 5 seconds ahead of Colin Fern. So we're now 6 seconds ahead of Colin Fern. So Burrell is the one in control here. The amount of ground he is able to bypass Hank, by, that's the amount of ground he has to be able to maintain once Hank comes down pit road.
Absolutely, and yeah, we'll take a look and see. It's hard to tell. We don't have an exact gap between these two drivers because as timing and scoring sees it, Ethan Burrell is simply 1 lap down. So there's no exact number. We also don't quite know that full time on pit road and what that delta is that Hank Steinmiller needs to look for. But Steinmiller is still out on the racetrack right now.
Fode's coming to pit road.
You are correct, Tyler Fode on pit road, but Hank Steinmiller right now sitting behind Josh Clark, or getting passed by Josh Clark, losing more time there. Steinmiller must come down pit road here relatively soon here. Going to get stuck behind this 11 car, or he's going to pass the 11 car, but then the 11's going to slide right on past him. Here we go. Hank Steinmiller to hit pit road. He needed to. There was too much traffic on the racetrack.
He's sliding it sideways. This is not a great pit road entrance for Steinmiller.
He gets it down, though, and I think he's
got
down
it in,
to
though.
pit road speed. He does hit pit road speed. Does he?
I think he got it.
Yeah,
he's
down.
good. I think he's good. And I wonder if that one lap by Tyler Fode is enough, but you can see Ethan Burrell already ahead of Tyler Fode. Ethan will have the lead. It's, well, Ethan almost puts it in the wall there. It's a question of how far ahead can Burrell get before Steinmiller gets off pit road. Yep. He's not even in his box yet. It's good he goes sideways into the wall in front of Ethan. That almost cost Ethan the race. Steinmiller has just started his pit stop. Ethan's going to come flashing by on the outside right there.
Yeah.
So a big gap for Steinmiller to gain.
Yeah, so Ethan Burrell, here we go. He's off of turn 2. Steinmiller is now off of pit road, just starting to roll and increase his speed. So once he gets up to speed, we'll give you that gap and what it needs to be for Hank Steinmiller. But Tyler Fode, does he pass his teammate? He does, I believe, pass Hank Steinmiller. He does off of pit road. So Hank Steinmiller has to pass both the 40 car and the 37 if he wants to bring that 63 car to victory lane. And Tyler Fode may be a bigger threat to Hank Steinmiller here because that's just a single lap offset, but 2 seconds of gap between himself and the 40 car. That to me is more concerning than possibly even Ethan Burrell in the 37.
Well, if the caution does wave before this one's over, I would say Hank Steinmiller is going to have a perfectly good chance. But until that happens, man, it is looking like this Tyler Fode car may have just made the call of the race in terms of pitting a lap before Hank. Hank gave up those 2 seconds in that lap because, like we said, Burrell was running 2 seconds a lap faster than Hank Steinmiller was. There at the when he came in. So that was the gap right there. Was that 2 seconds? Was that single lap? And now Hank has to run down his teammate, who is pretty much on equal footing with him.
So the gaps as they stand, 4.3 seconds back from, or excuse me, 12.6 seconds back, Tyler Fode from Ethan Burrell, 15 seconds for Hank Steinmiller back from Ethan Burrell. Those are the gaps. Those are the gaps we'll be watching over the course of this race. They will shrink. The question is, how much will they shrink by, and how will these drivers fare trying to get past leader Ethan Burrell? I can assure you, Ethan Burrell will probably try and make it as tough as possible to pass him. I'm sure he's sick and tired of being passed and being second place. So Ethan Burrell trying to make this move work. It's going to be a little bit tricky, though, with him having about 8 laps older tires than both Fode and Hank Steinmiller.
Right, and Hank has not eaten into the Tyler Fode lead at all. He is still 2 seconds behind, and he is not gaining much ground, if any. That call to, that Fode maybe snookered his teammate in the in the voice chat and said, "We're coming next time," and then came before. You never know if that's the case. We might have to check with them on the or on the interview afterwards, but. Yeah, they're going to be eating into the lead. Fode has eaten 3 seconds into the Ethan Burrell lead, but he is going to have to contend with Josh Adams and Colin Fern, who are right in front of him.
Yeah, absolutely. These guys on slightly older tires than Ethan Burrell, but a similar strategy there a little bit earlier, but you can see the pace for the 40 car, and this is kind of practice for how can he get past Burrell, and there you go. He's got that run on the 95. I assume Josh Adams will be a little bit generous, and he is with giving Fode the room there. The question is how much of Fode's tires will be worn off by the time he gets to Ethan Burrell. How much of that differential in pace is still going to be there? That is still yet to be determined. We should use this opportunity, if we can, to figure out our pain of the race because, man, there's a lot of good ones.
Yeah, I've been dreading it a little bit, just given that we have so many good ones. Someone has to lose.
Let's go through the field here real briefly, and we've got 20 cars to kind of talk about here. We'll start with Ethan Burrell, your current race leader, that Tony Stewart throwback scheme, and right now sits 8 seconds, or 7.5 seconds, over Tyler Fode. That gap shrinking fast. Question is, how fast can Fode shrink it? And when he gets to the bumper of the 37, what can he do to get by him? Tyler Fode, meanwhile, in my personal favorite still from the night, this black, white, yellow, and red. I love those stripes there. This Blue Edge Marketing and Days Gone By scheme. Not sure. You can remind me who the driver he's thrown back to.
Greg Sachs.
There you go.
Greg Sachs. Yeah, we had 2 Greg Sachs throwbacks in this race. Hey, how about the guy right in front of him there? He's a lap down anyway, but Dylan Thomas throwing back to Eric Almirola and driving it into the fence as I talk about him. That hasn't happened yet tonight.
Dylan Thomas with that Eric
He's
Almirola.
holding up Tyler Fodia quite a bit.
Yeah, they're the teammate to the 40 car, a little bit surprising there, but they sort that out fairly quickly and get Tyler Fody back on track here. Next up, throwback-wise, the 95 car here of Joshua Adams.
I think you did skip one. Hank Steinmiller's running the
oh, yep.
Kevin Harvick throwback.
My bad there. Yep, Hank Steinmiller in that Kevin Harvick throwback. That, what is it, the Navy car?
2001.
Yep.
It was before he ran the red numbers that beat Jeff Gordon in Atlanta. He ran a black numbered scheme, and that's what Hank chose to run this week. Hank's been running a number of throwbacks, and he received paint of the race last week, so I think we can throw out this Kevin Harvick throwback, though it is a good scheme.
Certainly is. So, yeah, back to Josh Adams there in that number 95 car.
Yep, Jeff Green paint scheme. I do like that one. Denny Hamlin for Matthew Weeks as he goes and tries to chase into Josh Adams.
Yep.
Jeff Burton paint scheme for Kendall Noah Player. This one's on my list, though I think there's a couple more behind it that I like a little better.
Yep. Here's Jared Rexing, that Dale Jr. throwback that you were talking about.
If we went with the population or the popular pick, I think it would be this one.
For sure.
If we hit Johnny Thomas here, this is a Ken Schrader throwback from the early 90s. Very good looking car, though we've given Johnny Thomas a paint of the race already this season.
Yeah, and I hate to say it, though, this pales to nothing as compared to a standard Manscaped car. I believe that thing is a thing of beauty.
Here's maybe my personal favorite is the Harrison Talon car. I just, the Caterpillar colors. I guess it's the same kind of red and black and yellow. The Tyler Fody, and Fody's got the sheen difference. So if we want to give it to Fody, that's all right. But I think this one's my pick. The Caterpillar car's always got a special place in my heart.
Absolutely. I mean, let's try and figure out what we can agree on here. One thing we can agree on is that Tyler Fody's closing that gap in pretty quickly to.
We're going to need to watch that. It's coming.
We're certainly
Fody's coming for the lead. He's now under 3 seconds behind Ethan Burrell and gaining fast. Though Hank Steinmiller has eaten the gap up on Fody. He's cleaned it now about a second. I do like the Brent Jones paint scheme, and it would be a good, nice nod for Brent Jones if we gave him a paint of the race, though. With so many paints, it's difficult to choose just one, and Brent's was very good tonight.
It really is so difficult to pick just a single scheme here. There's a lot of really good-looking cars here, and it's a shame that we're likely to only see these cars for just a single night here. Here's what it looks like for Ethan Burrell as we're going to bring them down this front straightaway. There's the gap to Tyler Fody in second position. There he is, that black and white car. Tyler Fody chasing down our leader, that gap down to 2 seconds. So is it going to close any more than that?
Oh, yeah, it's going to close. Fody's got 8 laps on Ethan Burrell, and he's about a half a second a lap faster right now. It's 4/10 last lap, and I think he's going to continue to eat into that as they go. Ethan's made this call in order to try to grab the track position in the event of a caution. He looks like it's just going to be a call that will result in Ethan finishing where he was, but having let some laps in result to do it. The only question to me is, can Hank Steinmiller catch Tyler Fody?
Yeah, and I mean, I was going to say Hank Steinmiller right now seems to be catching Tyler Fody at a faster rate than Tyler Fody's catching Ethan Burrell. So could this battle for second potentially allow that 37 to run away? And right now, I mean, we don't talk about team orders really being a thing here in elite racing. I think the guys generally race well with each other, but Harrison Talon certainly doesn't want to go a lap down, and it just so happens that Fueled Up Racing works with
already a lap down, though. He's already a lap down.
Yep,
I mean,
he does back out of the way. There you go. All right. Just always there to stir the pot.
Yeah, it's within a second now for Tyler Fody towards Ethan Burrell. Here comes Hank, though, around Harrison Talon, so he's very close, and if it takes Fody any time at all to get around Ethan Burrell, that could be the difference in Hank getting to his bumper. And Hank's desperate, remember. He's looking for that win to get him into the playoffs. Ethan and Fody are pretty much guaranteed locks to make it into the playoffs.
Yeah, Ethan doesn't have that win, but he's been scoring so many points consistently that he's well above the cut line as it stands. So, yeah, it'd be this is certainly very, very interesting in how this is all going to pan out. Thought we had a bit of a shift there. I believe Josh Adams did make the pass on Colin Fern for the 4th position. But here we go. Half a second between Ethan Burrell and Tyler Fode. Half a second between Tyler Fode and Hank Steinmiller. This battle for the lead is converging, and it's converging all at once.
Ethan Burrell blinking a little bit, as well as trying to find that little extra speed in those tires. They're now 30 laps old for Ethan Burrell. I just don't know if he's got anything left in the tank to be able to step it up just a little bit and maybe compete with Tyler Fode's newer tires. It's going to be difficult, and any amount that he holds up Tyler Fode is the amount Hank Steinmiller desperately needs in order to reel in his teammate.
It really has been a 3-horse race all night long, barring that time when we had Colin Bowden in the mix. But here you go, blinking for Ethan Burrell. That's certainly going to make Fode a little bit more cautious on the overtake when he tries to do it. But here we go. He's right there through turns 1 and 2. You can see the advantage, and he goes
He
for
gets
the
into
bump.
Ethan, and Ethan saves it, and Fode has to, he's going to take
and
them all
all
out.
3 are together.
Tyler Fode a little over-aggressive there, and may have just cost himself and his teammate a shot at the win. Hank Steinmiller is the leader. The caution is not yet out. It may not come out. Hank Steinmiller is going to get away with this, I think. He's 10 seconds ahead. Whatever damage he may have sustained, I think it's not going to be enough for Josh Adams and Colin Fern to catch him in. Well, a disastrous race there for Ethan Burrell and Tyler Fode.
Does that count as a triple jinx for me?
Oh, yeah. No, you get all 3.
Here we go.
I only say that because that would not tie us for the...
Oh, so Ethan just we should definitely go back. We were looking at the wrong car there as Hank just kind of bowls straight through the 2 and keeps his foot on the throttle there.
That's what you have to do if you're Hank Steinmiller, man. He doesn't have a win. He's got to go. And it's going to work out for him for now, barring another caution. Oh, man, another disaster for Ethan Burrell, though I don't think he was going to win. But, Fode just needed to give him some space there. He knows he needs to go by, but just nothing he can do once he gets up that close to him. And, that's it's late in the race. Ethan Burrell's got to run his line. I think Hank's going to be okay, though. I think he's maintaining a gap, so any damage on that 63 car not harming him. And Fode and Burrell are still 5th and 6th. Their night's not going to be over because of that, but it does cost both of them a shot at the win for now.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm curious to see what Burrell does here as he's probably coming back to the rear bumper of the 40 car. Both of them with some pretty severe damage here, but I'd imagine not some very kind words there being shared between the 2 drivers.
Ethan was going to get passed either way. It's really on Fode there to not spin him out, and to allow both of them to get by where Fode can still have a shot at the win. Fode screwed it up for himself here, I think, and that's disappointing for sure because we were trying to decide on pain of the race. Well, now we maybe have a reason to give it to that 40 car. We tend to try to give it to someone who won't win the race, and right now it sure looks like that 40 not going to be able to bring it home. He is 16 seconds behind Hank Steinmiller now.
Yeah, it's game over for sure for these guys. I mean, even if there is a caution, I guarantee the speed's not still in those cars. It's not quite there. I mean, their lap time, they're running about a second off or over half a second here, off of Hank Steinmiller. It's not there in these 2 cars right now, and even with the caution, even if it brings the cars together, Tyler Fode and Ethan Burrell both have lost their chance to win this race.
Yeah, I think so. We've got Ryan Lutz riding along with us. I know, just commented to me in the chat as soon as Hank Steinmiller and Fode and Ethan Burrell all came together there. He said Hank is all right, and I would agree with Ryan Lutz right there. Hank 10 seconds up, looking for the win. He's just got to complete 18 more laps here at Darlington, and then it'll be all over, and we'll be done with the Southern 500. And Hank Steinmiller will be potentially in the playoffs, he certainly deserves it.
Yeah, I mean, what a drive it's been for Hank Steinmiller so far tonight. It's really been a joy to watch what he's been able to do, and started on the pole position, got that great, had that great run early in the race, fought with Colin Bowden, who was extremely competitive early on, got that stage 1 win, but then Hank came back. Colin Bowden kind of fell out of the race. Hank got that stage 2 win. And just kind of kept with it. I mean, even on cautions, we knew he started to struggle a little bit on the short run. He figured that out. He got the short run solved. He got the long run worked out. Even though Tyler Fode maybe had a little bit for him on the really, really long runs. I mean, this 63 car was first or second best in just about every category around this racetrack here tonight. And that's because Hank Steinmiller is absolutely wheeling it. One of the guys who's driven all 3 races, and he's had a car to contend to win all 3 races at Darlington this week, and that speaks volumes about Hank Steinmiller and the type of driver he is and how he's been able to adapt 3 different cars to this extremely tricky racetrack.
I mean, I think back to last week when you talk about adaptability, Hank Steinmiller, the only driver that was willing and able to run the bottom of the racetrack. Everyone else up top the whole time, rim riding. Hank Steinmiller on the bottom of the track, and guess what? He was the fastest car on the speedway anyway, biding his time until he had an opportunity to go up and claim the lead, which, if not for the late pit stops in 2 consecutive races, it seems like had nearly cost him the trophy. And then it all changed when Tyler Fode got into Ethan Burrell in that attempt to pass.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it definitely feels like, this is almost a little bit of repayment for Charlotte there last week. Again, nothing quite over yet. We've got 17 laps to go here. Hank Steinmiller still has to hold on, and that gap down to about 9.3 seconds over Josh Adams. Though Josh Adams right now having to deal with teammate Colin Fern as this battle for second continues to go on between the Ruthless Motorsports cars. But Hank Steinmiller right now just has not put a foot wrong relative to his competition. And this is a track that, brings out mistakes in just about every single driver in the field.
Yeah, we've seen everybody in the wall messing up, making mistakes. I think maybe the only driver I haven't seen make a mistake is, we're looking at him right here, this 95 car, Josh Adams, has really been one that's been fairly clean all night. Another one might be the Jared Rexing machine in 5th place. We've seen guys stumble back together from bad nights. We've seen aggressive moves. How about Johnny Thomas? He's P8. He's still trying to hunt down the 2 wounded cars that are in front of him, and Ethan Burrell and Tyler Fode. I think maybe Johnny Thomas might have something to, he's really performing like a regular season champion by putting together an 8th place run in a night where he was probably 28th in overall speed.
Oh, absolutely. This is a fantastic run by Johnny Thomas here, and like you said, this is how you put together that regular season championship. You have that consistency throughout the season, and he's been just so strong, and it's been such an impressive season to watch for Johnny Thomas, but it's been shocking in a way, because we talk about Johnny Thomas so much and how great and consistent he's been, but the fact is this 09 car has not been a factor in as many races as you might imagine a regular season champion to be in. Like you talk about Ethan Burrell, Tyler Fode, people like Hank Steinmiller, Matthew Weeks, guys who are kind of always in that conversation about, who's going to win this race, Ryan Gavel. That 09 car hasn't always been there. He hasn't always necessarily had that pace, but what he's had is a word that we've used a couple of times tonight, but that grit. He's had that ability to come back and all right, he's got an 18th fastest car here tonight. Well, he's going to run as hard as he can, and look, he's going to pass the guys who were 14th and 15th fastest but crashed out on lap 2. He's going to pass the guys who were 6th and 5th fastest but can't keep their tires on for more than 10 laps. That's how Johnny Thomas has put together this season, and it's been incredible to watch. You see there again, just avoiding confrontation there. He sees the 19 car has a lot of pace. Put it on the apron. He's not racing anybody right now. Keep that car together. Bring it to the finish. Grab those points that he's in contention to grab. It's been a very smart drive all season long for Johnny Thomas. And if he does grab that regular season championship, it'll be absolutely well-deserved, even if he doesn't have a victory to his name, because of how he's been so intelligent about how he's approached this season.
I think you're absolutely spot on here. I would switch up, if you would, to the Fody and Burrell battle real quick. They are pretty close together, so I was wondering if potentially they were going to come even closer together. It seems like Fody's car might be a little more damaged because remember he does have the fresher tires than Burrell, though I think those tires are pretty much used up at this point.
Yeah, I imagine those are, not tires you want to be on at any point during this race. So these guys just have to finish off this run, prevent themselves from going laps down, losing all of that position. You can see a lot of quick cars behind them, the 15 and the 19, both multiple laps down.
They're on fresh tires. That's why they're moving up so quickly. And if you were wondering why we haven't even really mentioned Hank Steinmiller in a little bit, he's clipping away laps and pulling away from Josh Adams. He's pulled away another second from Josh Adams. So that 63 car on a rail right now, really looking for the end of this one to fly. We're under 10 laps to go, and he's going to get a playoff point. He's going to get a race win. What a night for Hank Steinmiller. What a great job he has done, and to finally pick up a win here at the SMRI Southern 500.
Hey David, it's lap 359, and you have a pretty solid record of doing stuff. I'm just saying.
Oh, I know.
If you've got some big burly men at your door tomorrow morning from Hank Steinmiller, we'll know in the next 7 laps.
I think sure it's one of those where I just keep trying because surely this time we won't have anything.
Do you remember
happen.
Rockingham?
I do remember Rockingham.
Do you remember Rockingham?
We're looking at the guy who got cost Rockingham.
So I until that white flag waves, do not want to make any claims. Though yes, I agree. Hank Steinmiller has had a fantastic run tonight. Right now seems to be pulling that gap out to Josh Adams. All signs are pointing to a very positive end to the night for Hank Steinmiller, and one that I think he'll be very happy with the result. But we cannot make any confirmations just yet. I just want to make sure we don't have guys at our backs here when we head out of the booth, ready to hurt us for any reason.
Look, if they don't already want to all hurt us, I mean that's so shocking, honestly. I'm enjoying, the potential total quote effect that we have on this race. It's been hilarious.
We have total power over these drivers. That's
all right. Well, I don't know. I feel like sometimes it gets used up. We were talking about Tyler Fody and Ethan Burrell as if that was they were kind of guaranteed to be second and third, and we got rid of both of them and gave Hank Steinmiller damage, and he still managed to pull away. So it's almost like he defied the odds.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible for Hank to basically, like, it literally looked like from one of the angles we had on those cameras in the replay, like Hank Steinmiller was just a bowling ball going straight through those 2 cars spinning out, and it very much was. I mean, foot hard to the ground, Days of Thunder, just don't lift. Go through it, you're done. That's the whole crash, and Hank Steinmiller somehow doesn't have engine damage from all that. Somehow is still pulling away from the 95 car of Josh Adams.
Yeah, maybe we can go on board with him in the once the race does end here in the iRace Online replay. I think it's going to be. I'm trying to get the lap for you. Going to be lap 337, I think. Forward might be right here, 342 is what it's going to be.
All right, well, we'll take a look on that when we're waiting for these guys to hop up into the interview room, or even when we get Hank in there and have him watch the wild ride that he was able to take.
Absolutely, we're coming down to it. Hank's almost there, and we kept our eye on Tyler Fody and Ethan Burrell just to see if Burrell could ever get to him and repay the favor there. Don't believe he's ever going to do it, and he bounces it off the fence as I say that. So, yeah, I assume that this one's going to be that feud is going to have to simmer for yet another week, and we can go to our potential race-winning driver up there and watch the Kevin Harvick machine roar down the back straightaway for the next to last time.
Yep, coming to the white flag here. Excuse me. Hank Steinmiller, one more lap to go around Darlington. He's done it 366 times before. Led the most laps here today. 1 lap to go, the final lap at Darlington. Boy, it's been a long one. but this 63 Kevin Harvick throwback car for Hank Steinmiller. 2 attempts before at Darlington to try and get the win in the Trucks and Xfinity. Wasn't quite able to get it done. Tried to get the win at Charlotte last week. Had such a fast car, wasn't able to quite get the job done. But tonight at the longest race of the season, or one of them, Hank Steinmiller across the line and wins the SMRI Southern 500 and punches his whole way into the chase. Hank Steinmiller is going to race for a championship. What a drive by this 63 car. A dominant performance here tonight. Joshua Adams brings it home for P2 over Colin Fern in the 3rd position. Matthew Weeks P4, Rexing P5, and then Tyler Fode over Ethan Burrell P6 and P7.
Yep, Johnny Thomas finishes 8th, so the rough napkin math, if I can jump to it real fast, is that Adams picked up 6 spots, 6 points on Johnny Thomas, and it'll be a 15-point gap from Thomas back to Adams entering Daytona.
Wow.
But
I mean,
Hank Steinmiller's locked into the playoffs, guys.
Hank Steinmiller, I mean, yeah, that's amazing for him. Was obviously sitting on the bubble. I mean, you talk about a similar story. We had this with David Tooker last season. World 600, the longest race of the season. And you have a guy who's kind of on the outside looking in, wins the race, locks his way into the chase. Same exact story here, Hank Steinmiller. What a drive here, and what a dominant performance. The speed he showed here, unreal.
Yeah, totally deserved, and I think back to Charlotte, we'll ask him about it again, but man, how about that 2-week, breakthrough where 1 week it looked like it was his race to lose, and he goes out and wins the next week after it's stripped from him last week due to unfortunate circumstances. This week, the unfortunate circumstances take out his closest competitors.
Yeah, it seems like it, but here we go. There's your results for the night. Hank Steinmiller, your race winner. Josh Adams, Colin Fern, Matthew Weeks, and Jared Rexing top 5. And we went through the rest of that top 10 there. You see Tyler Fode and Ethan Burrell involved in that incident. Johnny Thomas grabbing P8 to help his regular season championship hopes. Josh Clark and Kendall Noah Player rounding out the top 10 there.
As for the bubble, David Tooker having issues, and he'll come home in this next graphic. And then you also have Josh Clark in 9th. I think that will pretty much seal the bubble right around Josh Clark. I don't know that there's going to be anyone who can catch the 28 car. I think it'll be a battle between himself and his teammate David Tooker for that transfer spot, barring a crazy win. A big shout out to Scott Haney, Richard Hines. Great runs for those guys, and Brent Jones as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We get to the guys who weren't able to run all of the laps here. You see there Ryan Gavel out of the race, Colin Bowden out. The guys who had some good speed, Damian Leininger out of the race. Guys who had good speed early on, who unfortunately weren't able to bring their cars to the finish or finished too many laps down there. But still, big shout out to all the guys who took part and still kept on running even when those cars ran into issues. Great results as a whole. We'll bring in our 3rd place finisher here then, and start with him as we go back up the order, and we'll bring in Colin Fern, 3rd place here tonight. Colin, long race. Talk us through just the process of getting through that one and making sure you had a car at the end that you could contend and bring it home for P3.
Yeah, I mean, we had a long night. Started in the back and worked our way towards the front. Got involved in a couple incidences and then got caught 2 laps down there during that first pit cycle, and had to work our way back, and eventually found ourselves in the top 5 pretty consistently there in the last run. Good racing with Josh. Josh is a lot of fun racing with, and those guys had some contact up front and just able to get a podium out of it.
Yeah, Colin, I once the race kind of went green, was there anything you could have maybe done differently to catch up to some of those guys that had been running up front the whole time? Or because it looked to us like your car was a little bit better on those shorter runs.
Yeah, I could probably not piss so many people off in the league, so when they're a lap down, they let me by a little bit easier. But I can't drive everybody else's race car. I race everybody hard, and comes with some consequences at times.
Yeah, absolutely. That's fair enough there, Colin. But should expect to see you. I believe locked into the chase. I'm not quite sure. Have you met that attendance requirement?
Yes, sir, I have.
All right, fantastic. So, I mean, going chase racing, obviously, next week, Daytona, a little bit of a wild card, but how are you starting to shift your focus to trying to go and fight for a championship here?
Yeah, I mean, next week's just going to be, going for the win. Try to get some more playoff points for that first round. And we got a road course in that first round, which obviously I won at Watkins Glen, so I'm excited about that. And once we, so we got Mid-Ohio, and I'm not sure what else is in there, but I'll go win the road course and move on to the next round, call it good.
Alrighty, man. Before we let you go here, want to give you a chance to make any shout-outs on the air?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to my spotter John, keeping me company through that long race, and thank you to all the haters. I guess I heard there's some rent free out here, so we let them all live rent free. Come on.
All right, Colin Fern, P3 at the end of the day here. Congratulations at the SMRI 500, Southern 500. All right, we'll bring in our second place finisher then, and up into the broadcasting booth. Probably the cleanest car at the end of the night by our accounts. Josh Adams, man, a great run there, and obviously one that could help close the gap a little bit there to make that regular season championship battle very interesting heading into Daytona.
Yeah, speaking of the clean car, I had a strategy going in just to run the bottom in 3 and 4 and do the best I could in 1 and 2, and it paid off the entire time. I think I'm the only guy that didn't touch the fence or another car.
Yeah, that's what I kind of noticed. And, Josh, you're going to end up in second in points right now. And, does it feel like you've been that fast, all year? Because, it kind of feels like you just kind of snuck up on us here. And all of a sudden, here you are with a really good chance to win the regular season championship.
I've been off and on. Consistency obviously pays off to be P2 after 11 races. So we're chipping away at it. Definitely snuck up on you guys tonight. I was just hanging in the back off the field for 150 laps or so before I decided to race. Just making sure I kept the car clean and had a good car at the 500-mile mark.
Yeah, man, a great run, and obviously in that contention, thinking chase racing, thinking long term for the rest of the season. Where does your mindset start to go here now heading to, we do have the wild card race at Daytona, of course, coming up next week, and we know you are so strong at that racetrack. After that, though, heading into the chase, how do you start to shift that focus to winning the actual championship over the regular season?
Gotta focus on trying to win one of these, especially when we get in the chase. I think we've got a road course that's gonna have to survive that one, but the goal next week is gonna be to win.
Yeah, and Josh, if we maybe flash back to tonight, what's one thing that you maybe wish you could have had that could have helped you make it up to Steinmiller there? I know he had like 10 seconds on you at the end, but any of that anything track position or a different call on the green flag pit stop or something that maybe you could have gotten up there and gotten one spot better.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping to surprise him by a few more laps, to be honest with you. I know that was our longest run of the race. I think I'm locked into the chase at this point, so I'm just going to try to be the first one and see what happened. But those guys were pretty fast. I think my keep the car clean strategy hurt me because I was running slower through 3 and 4, but I think it's more important to get to the end with a clean car and just have a shot than do what those other guys did. Fody and Ethan took each other out, so we capitalized off of that. That's what we need to do.
All right, man. Before we let you go here and celebrate a second place at the Southern 500 here, I want to give you a chance to make any shout-outs on the air.
Yeah, I had a couple of teammates stick it out on Discord with me, Nick and Chris. They're a couple of our SMRI series guys. They kind of helped me through it. I'm sure you guys did a good job in the booth. 500 miles, that's no easy feat either. But just all the drivers tonight, we ran a pretty clean race, and it was a lot of fun.
All right, man. Congratulations again on the P2 here. at the SMRI Southern 500.
One more thing, I got to shout out Jeff Green. Running in the league with him, ran his throwback paint scheme tonight. I think I got a photo op with him on like lap 99 or something. I'll have to go back.
Awesome, man. There. All right. Have a good night.
You guys too.
All right, Josh Adams, P2 finisher there, and then finally getting it done. Hank Steinmiller, winner at Darlington, tried to get it done in the Xfinity and Truck Series. We talked about this on the final lap, man. Almost, had the fastest car last week at Charlotte. Got the race win, though. Locks your way into the chase. Great drive, man. Dominant drive tonight at Darlington.
Yeah, I want to thank Bowden first for leaving midway through the race because I'm not sure I would have got by him, but I felt like I could hang within 2 seconds of him. So I did not expect this one. I did not expect to be up front at all.
That's crazy because, I think you probably led over 200 laps. Let me actually check the book. Yeah, 192 laps led for you. I don't know what you were expecting that to be, but man,
0.
Yeah, you really put it to him. The other thing is that with that last pit stop when Fody got out ahead of you, was there any communication between him and you on pit stops? Did he snooker you there a little bit and fool you into pitting a lap later?
I didn't know he pit. He just disappeared. My relative, he didn't say anything. Nothing. He pit.
Wow.
Wasn't gonna. I didn't know how much gas I had left. Actually, I completely forgot we were going to pit. So when I saw that go, I asked him if he pit, and Gavel said he did. So I came down the next lap. Or I don't even know. Was it 1 lap difference or?
It was 1
2?
lap difference, yeah. And so then we got it pulled up here. We can have you take a look at that moment there when I think what would be the race winning moment, the pass for the win, when you got maybe sucked up in the issue there and between Fody and Burrell. Can you take us through, maybe if we can go on board with you here and take us through what you saw and what happened there?
It was quite a gap, I thought, at least. So I didn't think Fody was going to get to him right on corner exit. I thought he was probably going to pull it on the backstretch. And right here, I got out of the gas, and I thought we were good. So I was trying to go down to pass him. If I would have just held my line, I probably wouldn't have got the damage I had, but that thing would not turn for the last 20 laps. I was past 90 degrees turn.
Oh wow!
And what's funny, Hank, is we were watching the lap times. You pulled the guys behind you by 2 seconds.
That was just a product of the tires. That's the only thing that kept me up there. If I didn't have those new tires, I would have got run down quick. Especially, I'm not sure if Rexing had damage or not, but him pitting as late as he did, I thought he was the best. I thought he was going to be the one to run me down.
Yeah, the crazy thing is the amount of time between you guys there on that last run. I mean, it was 20 seconds from first to sixth or something like that. So
yeah,
you had a lot more space, I think, than maybe even you realized. And once you got the lead back, there was no running you down. I don't think even if they had more, they would have had to have 10 or 12 lap fresher tires to get you.
If they were on the same tire as me, they probably would have got me. I have no idea how far down on horsepower I was. It was killed. It just would not turn. I was scared to death that I would hit the wall. It would give me a meatball, something. It would blow up. I made Gavel talk to me for that entire 25 lap run. Every single lap. What's the times? How many laps left? Something. I needed someone to talk to me.
Yeah, it was good to see because last week we spoke with you because of that kind of late race incident, and we even got you before we got to the race winner because it seemed like such an obvious thing that you and Tooker were going to run for the win, and it ended up not working out. But is this one maybe a little sweeter?
Yeah, and I think if Bowden would have stayed in and won, that one would have really irked me more than last week. To finish second to that. Once we got about halfway through, I realized on a longer run, 40, 50 laps, I didn't think anyone could catch me. Fody was the only one that I really was truly worried about because there was a 40 lap run in there where he did stay out ahead of me, but it would have been hard to pass. So, but that run before we pit, he cut it to about 0.8 because I think I got caught up in lap traffic, and I didn't realize the car had more in it. So I started pushing again, and I think I pushed that lead back over 2 seconds right before we pit.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, impressive run all around from you, Hank. I mean, fantastic job. Obviously, the thought goes towards now you're racing for a championship. No real worrying about that bubble anymore. That's kind of a big thing, and that's something we've been asking the guys who finished top 3 here tonight is how does that mind shift? How does that shift? Obviously, you don't have to worry about Daytona. There's no, stressing about, the total wild card that is that race and figuring out whether or not you're going to be in. You will be in fighting for a championship. Now, how do you go into that first round, and how do you make sure you advance? How do you try and get yourself into that round of 4 to be in that conversation to fight for a championship? You look to have that pace coming together and have the momentum on your side right now heading into this postseason.
Momentum certainly is. I was honestly a lot more comfortable going to Daytona and winning than I was here. I was just trying to survive here. That first round of the playoffs, terrible for me. I cannot drive road courses. Be lucky if I'm in the top 15 there, and I actually mean that because I think last week I said I would not compete at all for this one. But Talladega is probably my best shot there in the chase. Don't know how many points I'll start out with to be ahead, but basically it's just not wreck. I got to finish them all.
Well, Hank, to close out the night here, you got any shout outs to send out as a Southern 500 winner?
I can't express enough how much I appreciate Colin Bowden right now. Him first, Fody and Gavel, Damian, Lutz, the whole L&M guys, sponsors, Juicebox Pod and Sports Shift Media. Check out the podcast on Spotify and the website. It's got some sports stuff on there, gambling stuff, whatever. Yeah, that's Elite for putting us on, but mostly Bowden.
All right, man. Well, congratulations, SMRI Southern 500 winner. That's awesome.
Thank you, guys.
All right, Hank Steinmiller, your race winner, and 3 hours and 52 minutes into this broadcast. Well, David, it's been a long one for sure. I don't quite know if this is the longest one we've done. I don't quite remember the length of the Coke 600.
No. Was not the longest one. And, the Daytona 500 went over 4, and I think between qualifying and the duels, we were over 4.
Ooh.
I know you weren't
Yeah,
a part
that's
of that
fair.
one, but this wasn't the longest one. It was certainly long. I think Bristol might have actually even been longer.
Bristol,
than
I think Bristol might have been up to 4 hours as well, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
So we just got short of the 4-hour mark here. Thank you to everybody who stuck with us to enjoy all the action and that went on here in the Elite Racing Leagues. Please absolutely make sure you guys are subscribed. We're going to have our wild card race at Daytona coming up. We could have some big surprises there in terms of who makes it into the chase. That'll determine the chase field. And then we got, 7 weeks of chase racing. It's going to be extremely, extremely exciting. It's all going to be brought to you here on the Elite Racing Network, and David and I are going to be bringing you all of that action. Also, stay tuned. Keep your eye out for that pre-chase preview show where we're going to go and make our terrible picks as to who's going to be our championship 4, who's going to be our champions, and we'll watch as that all crumbles around us after race 1, round 1. With that, we're going to head off for tonight. Thank you all once again for watching, and I've been Rishav Khosla, joined in the booth by David Westergreen. This has been the SMRI Southern 500 on the Elite Racing Network. It's the 2021 JoinAPS Cup Series. Hank Steinmiller, your winner. We'll see you guys at Daytona next Wednesday night.